Is this thing working? Not a clue. Let's find out. I just played my voice back on my phone. This is really quite weird. Let's see if I can make this nice and work. I'm going to kind of speed run the setup because I think I've got 12 bats in and I did one in like 15 minutes. Probably still not possible. That's helpful. It's alive! Does this work? I want to go to Lisbon, please. It does! That's exciting. Yes, that's where we are. Flight number? I gave it a flight number. Look on that map, sir. My cell code is different. What is it? PLCH. Oh, live. Rounds on 121855. Cool. I need a flight plan.
Flight 350 negative, it's QNX 1037, QN landing orbit 50115.
We're going to cruise at 36,000 feet, I think. This one now.
Flight 350 correct.
Banana 1 Bravo Mike, request taxi, Able Alpha Fox.
He's flight plans
Flight
here.
1 Bravo Mike.
I go 360.
Say again, you instructed your request.
Request taxi, Able intersection Alpha Fox 4.
Flight 901 Bravo Mike.
Alright, how heavy are we?
Holding point
Switch this thing
Alpha
on.
Fox 1 via Bravo and Alpha.
Taxi holding point Alpha Fox via
Echo.
Alpha Fox 1 via Bravo and Alpha Ryanair 1, correct, Ryanair 1 Bravo Mike, thank you.
Echo and background noise. Alright. Thank you. I have stuff to work on. And I have no idea how to do it. Hold on.
KLM 219 taxi to holding point Delta 1 via...
This is literally the first time I've done this, so it's going to be a real mess. Lux, what's up, man? I need your help, bro. I'm not going to do realistic stuff. I'm just going to send it.
less than 551
If the background noise is from the mic, if it's echo, it might just be because I have 3 tips. But if it's something else that needs fixing, let me know and I'll see if I can fix it. Does this come across? Did. Need performance.
Thanks for bye bye. Let's start to see our departure squawk 0743 QNH 103 I don't know.
It's very much cheating.
And Ryanair 91 Bravo.
Your next is going to be 1036.
Thank you, you pulled the 18630 Papa right now, 91 Bravo Mike.
It makes sense.
Manchester Tower, good evening, line and 91 Bravo Mike, approaching Alpha.
Alright, let me see how my overhead panel is going under that. Alright. So you need any of that.
And KLM 219, continue taxi now to holding point Alpha
Is
1.
the IRS is aligned yet? No, it's not. Come on, man. This thing is slow. Come on, man. Alright, next test. I will look into OBS fixing that line.
Okay, 3 signs 50, 5015.
Any chance you can tell me if that helps? Because I've disabled everything apart from one device that kind of controls everything.
Kite 350, stand at 62, push and start through face out.
Maybe that'll help. Just the one source.
Kite 350, you're on
Miss.
the new scenery.
Load sheet,
Push
yes.
back, spot Delta 5.
Yeah, I can't. Maybe you have to zoom out. Standing performance. That one is done.
LM219, a contact Manchester Town now.
Shots we don't need.
630.
Because we know where we're going. That's better. Yay, we fixed it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Still waiting for the IRS's.
Ground flow again,
Just
Unit
sort
is
this
now
out.
Charlie's
I think the
Stand.
ATIS was 1035. That's QNH.
You're
No,
in
1036.
901, Charlie, Manchester Town, good morning, you are clear to Dusseldorf, a Dessig.
I wish there was a bigger delay on the Phoenix 320 between setting this on one side and getting the ECAM because you haven't set it quickly enough on the other side.
QNH 1036.
Gentlemen, correction, clear to Dusseldorf, Dessig 10 departure, QNH 136 is 10123, stand Charlie.
Those are departure engine line.
Not a complex trainer for push and start.
We are going to go from Manchester 5 left on the Aspen 1 Sierra.
Facing west.
Push and start is approved facing west, try 9
Just
and
later on, the ILS 02.
All stations at new QNH 1036. New QNH 1036. And we'll
Why do I
come
not
down.
have two of these? I'll work on that later. That'll do. Says we got enough fuel to get there. Hey, I haven't even used BatSim since I installed it. This is gonna be... I probably should have tried this stuff out before I started to stream. Oh. This used to be 4. Where's the... Wrong chart. Oh, these charts are weird. That would do it. What's the Aspen? $5,000. Yeah, but the call sign in wrong. Did. That was smart. 7969. Yay. Need a pen and paper. Try and get a clearance. Alright man, thank you. Maybe that's better. Please. What 80s did we have? Maybe I'm gonna have to listen to the 80s. Nope. We get the 80s. Yeah.
Kite 350, taxi Delta, Bravo and Alpha, holding point Alpha 1 for 05 left.
We have Victor. 5 left. And 37. Alright. See if I can get a clearance. Delivery, good morning, easy 7969. Radio check. You know what helps? Oh, it's there. Like I definitely should have tested this out before I started the stream. Hello? Yeah. Connected to voice.
350, contact Manchester Town now, 118.630. Have a good flight.
ETT is on.
Not on the bump X-ray, requesting taxi.
Run.
Is it morning in the UK? It is just about. But every morning Emirates 7, correction, it's easy 7969 radio check. Why is my VATSIM not working, people? 31855 is correct. I can hear them on ground. Got that on, got that on. What's not working? Why on earth have we got so many buttons? P. Select P.
someone's open mic.
Delivery, hello, EZ7969, ready check.
EZ7696, readability 5.
EZ7696, thank you very much, sir. We are 319 on stand 6, Victor, QNH1037, request clearance please to Lisbon.
EZ7696, when we do not appear to have a flight plan for you.
EZ7696, roger, stand by 1. Well, that's embarrassing. What have I done now? I do have a flight plan in there. Yeah. Would you like to load it so we can edit it? 7969.
And Ryanair 9 November X-ray, contact Manchester Town, now 118630. Have a good day.
Contact 118630, November,
Yeah. Hey, Blue. Yeah, I think the mic, I've got the PTT set wrong, and every time I press a button on the Thrustmaster joystick to set the push to talk, it comes up as a different assignment. So I've just set one on my keyboard, which is going to be really quite irritating when I try to fly the thing.
Station calling, readability about 2, quite faint and a little distorted.
Right, we're going to do this a different way. I have disconnected from VATSIM, and I'm going to do it without, because I'll fix that off stream. Because clearly I am a bit of a muppet, and that's not working. So let's get these guys to hurry up and get ready, and we'll push the aeroplane and we'll get out of here. Because something is not working. Fly without it. Right. Are they ready? What are they doing? Come on, GSX people. Let's go. No. Just hurry up. What are we waiting for? Normally they call me up and say, hey, we are ready for pushback. What are you doing? Shout out the window. Where am I? Wait. Oh god, I'm not going to be able to close the window now, am I? No. Oh no. Why can't I close the window? Please. Can't fly to Lisbon with an open window. What are you doing? What are you doing? This is where you tell me she's marshalling somebody else onto the stand and I can't close my windows. Not going very well. God. I'm just going to keep clicking the same thing until I go crazy. Oh. Okay, I've managed to move the thing. Oh. Right, how do I push back without GSX? Because this is getting silly. Yeah. It's not working. Who the handling operator is. Can we just push? These? I think I've done anything wrong here. Need to pull that GPU out. You're gonna tell me there's another aeroplane parked on top of me. What's she doing now? This one's moonwalking. Come on, Phoenix, man. Thought you were better than this. This was the study level aeroplane that was supposed to work. 3-star all. Oh my word. Now I might cry. Where's my panel states? There we go. Ready. Now what are you doing? Laughing at me. God. Lux, if you're still here, I definitely don't need to be your partner for a another one because I'll definitely slow you down. I promise I know what I'm doing. How do you use the Phoenix push? Ground services, that might have done it. Why is this not working? We've got panel states on. It's supposed to be alive. Please? Am I going crazy? Or should this be alive now? Right. Please don't tell me you've dumped my flight plan as well. Ugh. Alright, this is going to be the biggest speed run of a setup. So if you're ever in a real airplane, don't do what I'm about to do. Batteries on, please. What's going on? Why is this possessed now? Oh, I might cry. And then uninstall GSX because when I try and use it normally, it takes forever to load the passengers. Alfie! Hello, mate. You've come at a time when I show the world that I don't actually know how to fly an aeroplane. Or at least fly this aeroplane because it's all gone a bit mad. Quite honestly. Yeah. Absolutely bonkers. Don't need that. Don't need that. Shocks away. Close the doors. Connect the tug. Oh, this is much easier. Okay. Have to redo some performance, synchronize the load sheet, the weather, calculate it, send. Thank you. Something's not really not working because even my Stream Deck camera button thing stopped working. This has gone mental. Might just go and do some circuits. Get in the way of Manchester Airport for a while. Right, that got sent in. That got sent in. We need a runway. So departure, 5 left. One of those. One of those. The rest we can sort out later. Let's try and fix the FCU. What, why are we at 45,000 feet? What? And it won't change. Everybody use the Phoenix 320. This is it. Let's climb up to 45,000 feet and we'll have no screens. The IRS is even on. Yep, those are showing a fault. Batteries are not working. I can't turn them on. Is this me? Am I losing my mind? Because here, restart the displays within the 3. I think I might just restart the whole thing. Okay, restart displays. Some of them work. Some of them still do not. Might go back to the 350. At least I know it works. Poo. Yeah, okay. It's not just me then. Good. Alright, let's try this. Oh, it's one of them. Rest doesn't even matter. Just go. Yeah, mine was actually working before. I've literally been buzzing around on Volanta today, and all of a sudden I put YouTube on, and stuff doesn't work. Why does this keep popping up on this monitor? Go over there, please. Thanks. We're inside the airplane. Either I use the panel state or just try and... Does my stuff work? Oh, it does. Yay. Okay. Right. Take 12. I don't know why I put the ground control on. I don't want anybody listening. Right. That's going to take forever. I wonder if there's a way to do like quick IRS align. That would be fun. Fine. I don't want to wait 10 minutes for the IRSs. Is that a thing that you can change? Any idea if you can just make it align the IRSs instantly? I know you can in the 350. Refuel rate? No. I don't know, man. There's no point in sending that. It can't go anywhere yet. Hey. Yes. Alright. Let me put a departure in here really quickly. Promise I'll make this quick. So why have I now got... Oh. I actually put a departure in. That one. Right, over here. Back to the EFB again. Put that in. Put that. Weight, balance. Do we even know how much we weigh? Where's the thing? That's landing performance. Those are charts. Right. Why are we... Yeah, 150, that'll do. That's probably enough. Sim settings. Is this where we can... Right, I really don't see a thing about IRSs. Refuel? No, 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 no. Got alcohol outs. Very strange. Alright, I'm gonna have to recalculate this performance because I put the weight in. Okay, synchronize the load sheet. Okay, send it to the meter. Is it there? Yes. Alright, we've got everything we need. The APU running. Yep. We've got fuel now. Put that on. Go to auto, that can go on. Okay. 5 minutes? Really? 6. Might be 37. It would be nice on stream to get airborne at least once. Nobody message. Come on. I get it, we've had a load sheet. Accept it. 56.2. B. Why is this 9? Easy 7. It's a real flight. They're probably not even flying cost 20 these days. That's good. Come on. Right, I actually don't know how to work. Can't even push back and just wait for the IRSs to align later on. Asbin is 5,000 feet. Let's go here. Still got our charts from before, I think. And then of course if you want to check that while we're looking, put that on there. Make sure that looks like 2 miles. F is the radial 333. And how do you know what F means? Well, if you just go here, look. This is 5, 10. So this is 6 miles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what the F means. So on the 333 radial at 6 miles is where you need to be above 2,500 feet. There it is, 6 miles. 2,500 feet. I'm just finding stuff to talk about while I wait for these city IRSs. I can't believe we don't have ONS. Right, 1036, that makes sense. 5,000, climbing up blue. We're ready to go whenever the IRSs want to join the party. What's this? Broken. Yeah, the pilot's not going to work, is it, with the IRSs? Okay. Hey, bud. He's probably had enough. Listening to me to talk nonsense. Departure. Can we have some taxi charts? That one would work. That one would also work probably better. Alright, how are we going to make it push us back? In this one. Like that one. This one. Why do I not know what I'm doing all of a sudden? Ground services. We've got the GPU, that can go away, we don't need that. Target's connected. We need this to hurry up. And this company message is triggering my OCD. read your message. There we go. Yeah, I tried VATSIM and then it didn't go very well. Essentially, what happened is, I don't know, it was all a bit of a mess. I think my PTT was set to something else, and then there was an open mic on the frequency, which I'm pretty certain was me. And then I tried to set the push to talk button to the trigger button on my joystick, and every time I pressed it, it came up with a different number. So I kind of gave up on that because I think I was disturbing people's peace in VATSIM. And just being that irritating guy who doesn't know what he's doing. So I will fix that off stream and make sure I'm vaguely competent next time. Oh, GPS primary. It's alive. I'm on IRS. Yeah, it's good. Okay. I think we can push now. So if we're going to push, we're going to look up the beacon on. And I'm just going to release the park rate because who needs to do things properly? Push me back. So you're going to push. Where are you going? Reconnect. There's not even a tug. You said you're ready for push. There's no tug. Or is there a nose wheel? Oh, that's a long time. How are you ready for push? You need a tug. My word.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Okay. You've checked the pin's in. Are you going to push it by hand? Are you really, really strong? I've flown this aeroplane in a previous life. What a weapon this thing is.
Locking gear.
Engine is quite loud. It might be just because I'm outside. I'll come back inside where it's quiet. Is that better? Avi, if you've got any other things that need fixing, obviously I am looking at this side. So, can you push? Can you please push the arrow? I have no idea if this looks or sounds any good. So if you can see stuff that needs fixing, please let me know. Okay. Thanks. Why are we not pushing, guys? Come on, please. Please push the plane. So the one thing the GSX thing does do is push the plane. Already released the park rate. This is right. Guys? Guys, somebody help me push this plane. Or is it we just waiting for this guy who's on Union time? Why? The tug's connected. This is disconnected. There's no reason that they shouldn't be pushing. Start. I am really going to go back to the 350. Anyone got any ideas? Do I have to set this and reset it because they are... Guys? Am I losing my mind? So I tried GSX and GSX was playing me about.
Set parking brakes to request ground services.
Nose right, tail left. Just push.
You need to set parking brakes to
I don't
request
need to
ground
set the
services.
park brake. I was actually trying to do it without GSS. Nice. Okay, just push. Continue the pushback. Please.
Release parking brakes, please.
Oh my word. Are we going to go somewhere?
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Yay! Alright, let's start the engines before we go crazy. Now, when I was at EasyJet, we used to start engine 2 first. And then somebody in a stream once told me that we start engine 1 first now because they do single engine taxi. So, I haven't checked. I will start engine 1 first, but I'll just start both. If anybody knows differently, let me know. Can you change his clothes? He looks very unprofessional and is not filling me with confidence. No, did I offend you? Sorry. N2 is spinning. We've put fuel in, we're igniting it, and we want to see the exhaust gas temperature go up like that. It means we've got fire. Or reheat, these guys. The start valve's closed. Generator clicked on. Wait for this to go away. It should say avail. There it does. We'll start the other one. Shame we could see the PTU memo here, but we couldn't hear the barking dog.
Please set parking brakes. Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
Alright. Park brake is set. Confirmed on the memo. This is the brake pressure indicator. I'm going to tell him we've got 2 starts and go away because... Yeah.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect. Unlocking gear.
When did I become American? Ah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think they took the chocks out. I will take genuinely any advice that you guys have because I can do this in the real thing, but on flight sim, very much still learning. Let's turn that off. Don't need the engine anti-ice yet. My esteemed colleague, that and that, and I'm sure the pitch trim is fine.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Bye.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Do a flight control check. Pull up, pull down. I think the EasyJet do this while they're taxiing, which to me is absolutely mental. Like, nobody's in that much of a rush. Alright, you haven't disconnected my nose while steering. What are you doing? Sorry for the noise, I'm going to go outside briefly. Why is that not working? He's walked away. But he hasn't disconnected the nose while steering. Alright, I'm not trying to reposition. You haven't disconnected my nose wheel steering, man. And you've walked off. What's going on here? That's not me. Alright. Let's see if it goes away for taxi. No, it doesn't. Look at that. It's going backwards. Is that because I've got this on? And I'm trying to use GSX and a Sobo at the same time? Probably is, isn't it? Right, that's gone. Promise I know what I'm doing. Right, let's go forwards. Taxi line. It still says available because it's spooling down slowly. Alright. How do we get to the... I know my way around Manchester. Let's see, how do we get to the holding point? We'll obviously ask for clearance and they'll give it to us and we'll say go taxi over there and don't hit anyone on your way. Look at that, we managed to get an aeroplane started up and moving. Miracle. Completely forgot to switch on the transponder and that didn't happen. I can go on, I'll put this focus on now, so I don't have to play around with it, and I'll put the weather radar on. Doesn't matter if you go system 1 or 2, unless you've got a really cheap employer who's only put one system on the aeroplane. Also going to have to find a way of moving chat. You guys are on a different computer over there, and it's like too old to read this. I might have to try and find a way to move it here somewhere. So if I lean out of screen, it's because I'm trying to say hello. Oh yeah. Hold on, let me set a park brake, and thank you for pointing out that my screen capture has stopped working. Please work. Give me 1 sec. Stand by. This doesn't happen when you watch Ninja, does it? Stuff just works. Alright, hopefully that's working. The cabin crew are calling to tell me that my stream is rubbish. That would be the... There's normally, or at least when I was there was a little flip-flop thing on here that says the cabin's ready for departure, and they'll call you to say, listen, we're all seated. Is what that little phone call is. Takeoff config is normal. Oh, thank you for being so patient. Much appreciated. Should we try and taxi at more than 3 knots? Otherwise, it'll get really boring really quickly. How's your day going? One of my kids wants to say hi. George, come here. Stand there and look at it. It's George.
Hello.
Oh Christ, I'm going to taxi into the garage. Right. What can I do for you, mate?
Go down there.
I'll have to help you.
Yeah, like I
Josh,
just...
I'll have to help you out later, mate. Oh dear. Right, here's a taxiway that you... Times I've been here in an A380 that you're not allowed on because of the expensive aeroplanes that they park here. I have been down there once though with an escort. That was very scary, and they were doing works on some of the taxiways. Apparently it is capable and possible to put an A380 down this taxiway, but with like 1 meter clearance. Very scary. Anyway, we survived. Nice. Hello. Oh dear. Why am I streaming at 40? Wait, what? Say hello to the airliners live people. That not working. Okay. Now I've looked to see if I can get rid of that silly your GPU isn't good enough to run this at 4K thing. You can't apparently. So if it becomes annoying, let me know, and I'll obviously have to restream at 1440 or heaven forbid 1080. But I don't really want to because it looks rubbish. I'm gonna go down the end. Here's a fun story. I came down here once in a British Airways 319, departing 5 left, and we had to hastily stop here and redo the figures for Alpha Golf just here on the left because we were following the AN225 when it visited Manchester, and as it took this off-camber corner that we're coming up to just here, it destroyed the edge of the taxiway. All of the taxiway just started crumbling underneath it and they got stuck. So we then had to depart in front of them, which was a real shame because I really wanted to watch the 225 go. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. We're going to pretend that the tower has cleared us for takeoff and that I know how to use the landing lights at 319. I already put the transponder onto TARA and I've got the weather radar on and checked that the approach is clear. No idea what the wind is. I guess we'll find out when we rotate. It looked like a crosswind, but I'm not sure how reliable those windsocks are. Timer, in case we have an engine failure. Look at the hump. I wish they'd build a flat airport in Manchester, because this is genuinely what it looks like. Forward. Take off. Love that noise. Big aeroplanes are too quiet. Anyway, got Manflex 66 SRS runway and order thrust blue. Check the speeds. Positive climb. You're up. And now. Oh, we're flying. I love Airbus aeroplanes. You're just flying. Just take your hands off. I mean, you shouldn't. You can just take your hands off and watch it do its thing. Leave it climb. And climb. Manchester. Alright, I'll put the autopilot on so I can see what you guys are talking about. Oh, there we go. Let's work. AP1! Put this on now so I can see what's behind me and where we're actually going. Going that way. 5,000 feet. Above S speed. Back flaps. Nose off. Armor spoilers. There we go. So yeah, I agree about auto FPS. On a previous installation before I formatted this PC, I installed that and it just went to like full potato quality. Maybe I had the settings wrong. But I think I was trying to record a video. Let's say we've cleared us up to 10,000 feet. Obviously, out blue because it's a restriction on the SID. Go over climb, pull it. Continue climbing all the way up. You wouldn't bother putting the engine anti-ice on for this because you can see through it and we're already clear, it won't do anything. Yeah, so I tried auto FPS and I've seen on lots of forums everybody saying how wonderful it is, but I'm almost certain it was a user error because when I used it, it went to potato quality and something else went wrong. I can't remember why, but I sort of immediately stopped using it because I think maybe I was recording a video and it kept going. It was running fine, and then it just went to like I was watching it on a Nokia 3210, and then it came back again, and it just kind of ruined the video. I don't know, maybe there's a way of not letting it destroy the quality quite so much. Probably. Obviously we'll be speaking to different air traffic control people now. Manchester departure radar. I'm in flight level 150. I will, I promise, look into auto FPS because, again, I'm sure it's just me. Where are we going? This way. I'll put you on terrain so you can see where we go. Yes, we're gonna go. Hold on, see if we can get hold of that. That looks cool. Those shots, I really wish I was working for an airline where you could film in the flight deck, because the shots like in weather like this, where you're accelerating and turning as you pop out of the clouds, even when you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, they kind of make it worthwhile, you know. It's very pretty. Very lucky to do this job. I get to do it in about 12 hours, actually. It's fun. Yes, by all means post whatever you like. I hope it'll save them. I don't know if there's a setting that says no. There is, apologies. We let them go. Pretty good idea, isn't it? So we're above 10,000 feet, we can turn off the landing lights, we'll let the passengers go and have a little wander around, we'll get rid of that GPS primary thing, because it's annoying. And our cruise level is flight level 360, optimum 35. There we go, please. This is really annoying, I am going to have to do something about it. Something other than buy a better GPU. It's 59 as well. Ridiculous. But yeah, if you guys have settings that make things look and run better, I am all ears. Now that we've got no restrictions, if you are the type that suffers from OCD, you can go from climb by pushing this to managed climb. Genuinely, the airline I work for, it almost becomes SOP to have this, although it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. I just feel like everyone's got OCD. Where's this? Where's that scroll the wrong way? This is something that bugs me. Right? This outer ring here controls the contrast of the navigation display. So if you've got weather, and you're trying to find your way through it and you really want to see your flight path as opposed to the weather, you can turn down this outer ring. What they shouldn't have done is allow you to turn it all the way, because if you get on an aeroplane, you just get on, you turn your brightness up, and you don't notice that this is turned all the way down. You could actually take off with a big thunderstorm in front of you and actually have no idea, purely because the previous crew have turned the outer ring all the way down. I can't turn it back up again. Hello? Please? There you go. Good illustration of... I think... Oop, it's going to move. Slowly. Yes. Yes. Yeah, there. There we go. So yeah, one of the other things, I grab both of those and turn it back on. How pretty. Genuinely, at this point, you're just talking to people. And then you've got flight plans to do, and newspapers to read, bacon sandwiches to eat. Fun. .350 streams, definitely, because I know how that simulator works as well as the aeroplane. So if you've got any fun routes you want to fly or good approaches, I will absolutely do that, because it's good practice for me. I'm flying one in the morning, but it's very short. Maybe that could be a good stream, because it's literally an hour and 20-minute flight. Yeah, the 350 is a wonderful aeroplane. Sort of takes all of this, which, having been on the 350 for a few years, and the 380 before that, and get back into one of these, you wonder where all the buttons are, because it's very, very basic. In like a good way. It kind of gets you from A to B, but you could be a lot more efficient and a lot safer with some of the toys that you get on the 350. Case in point, the OAS built in here, and ours are connected to the internet, so you get live weather updates, so you can actually look ahead. The weather radar only goes up to 160 miles, and even then it's not great. There's actually a line in the manuals where the weather radar performance is known to be a bit rubbish above 80 miles. So it's good if you're in the weather trying to find your way through it, but if you want to avoid something completely, you can see it on our EFB well in advance, which means that you can plan it in advance, a reroute through ATC, and then you can even, in the secondary flight plan, build that route that you want to fly around the weather, and then send your secondary flight plan. So you'd build it in here by copying the active, and then you go from here, I want to go to somewhere else on this airway, and you build your entire route. And then you just go into the ATC com menu and you send it via CPDLC, hey ATC, I'd like to reroute via this, and you just send them a copy of your entire flight plan that you've built, because you know exactly where the weather is before you even get there. And they just send you a clearance, and then it's already there, ready to go. It's a wonderful aeroplane. Obviously built for long haul. Other child haul. I'm gonna need a bad door. Ethan, I don't know. On the YouTube channel, there is an email address on there. If you want to just email me some links, I would be super, super grateful. Anything that helps make this more watchable for you guys, and more playable. Because once you get away and then we're just looking at clouds, it seems to work quite nicely. But if you're in busy airports that I haven't necessarily flown to before, I can imagine it struggling a little bit. I tried to fly into Geneva this week, and then of course you get below 50 feet and it's like trying to fly PowerPoint with the frame rate getting so slow, and then kind of ruined my stats on Volante. It ended up like 500 feet a minute or something, because there was just no point at which I could flare. Not that that really matters, but yeah, if I can make it work better, that'd be great. And actually, if other people are streaming in 1080 or 1440 and it doesn't make a difference, then I could probably just do that and it would work well. I'm just trying to keep the quality as high as I possibly can for you guys. Where are we? Does this have an en route map? Route. Where are we going? What's this? Ooh, that's a bit Garmin G1000, isn't it? My Airways, that's more like it. Telegraph. Route. It's very cool. We have this sort of thing as well on the 350. Useful to know where you are, because pilots these days aren't very good at the whole situation awareness thing. Just kind of just follow the green line and descend when it tells you to descend, and magically you end up at your destination. Don't need this timer running anymore. Nor do we need the VORs. So, I'll be honest, I have never watched somebody else streaming Microsoft Flight Simulator. Do they use the speed up functions? Because this is, how long is this? 14:43. It's 2 hours until we land at them. Do people use the speed up functions, or do they just talk rubbish for 2 hours? I mean, I can do that if you want. If they do use the speed up functions, genuinely, how? Not a clue. Yeah. Now you want to go to Japan by the LDA approach to 2-2. Yeah, that'd be fun. Is TT Narita? Oh, no, it's not. That's AA, isn't it? What's the other? Haneda. That could be really interesting. I started making a video on RMPAR approaches and some of the fun ones. I filmed. Where did I film? There's one in Kathmandu. There's one in Macau. Paro, I think, in Bhutan is now an RMPAR approach. It's good to watch the aeroplane do what it's designed to do. But I do find it almost makes it too easy. Case in point is the Kanazi approach to Kennedy. We used to fly that as a base leg, where you just point an A380 at the ground at about 500 feet into New York, and then it would just disconnect and we'd turn around the corner, roll wings level at 300 feet and land. Whereas now that also is an RMPAR approach, and you can have the autopilot on to like 100 feet or something silly, which, well, yeah, okay, it's safer, more efficient, they have fewer go-arounds, but it makes worse pilots, and it's far less fun. More procedures, more things to get wrong, more playing around with the FCU when there's a whole world out there. You should be able to fly these things, because when it doesn't work, they would expect you to continue flying, right? But we're all driven by cost these days, so. Genuinely? Alright. Well, I'm happy to talk planes for 2 hours. And if there's anything you guys want to know about becoming a pilot, or what it's like, give me a shout. The one thing I probably shouldn't answer, although it's probably quite easy to guess from the videos, is where I work. I haven't actually asked them if I can mention it on the channel. And they're quite protective about social media. So the channel is me as a guy who flies planes for somebody somewhere in the Middle East. Yeah, like I say, given the previous types, you can probably guess, but I won't say it out loud. We are 1,000 to go. But yeah, I do still fly both, the 350 and the 380. Last flight I did was a 380, flying a 350 tomorrow morning. Good fun. Yeah, long haul routes, like, I don't know, do people really do 17-hour flights on stream? Imagine flying from Auckland to Doha on a 350-1000, that's like 18, 19 hours, or the New York to Singapore on the 350 ULR. People can't do that on stream, sure. Mac Outstar, what would you do here? I'm going to find my button that takes us to the pedestal. because now we can point this sky downwards. Because I think I've turned the traffic off because I was planning on using that. There's our cruise. So if there were traffic around, obviously you want to look downwards in case of an emergency descent. And then you want to know that your aeroplane's working. So you can cycle through your systems, or you can cheat and just press this button here, which is all done, and you just press that. Goes all the way through. 3 hydraulic systems. That's a throwback. People are nice and warm, slides their arms, everything is green essentially, that's all that matters. That one's gone. Okay, I just pressed a button and I don't know what it was. Oh. Oh dear. I think I just fat fingered the control key on my keyboard. Alright, let me go to a distant outside view. We can just talk aeroplanes for a while. It's fun. Andrew, welcome, and looking forward to seeing you at the anonymous company who shall not be mentioned on stream, but welcome, you will love it. Again, if you need help with anything, there's an email address in the channel bio thing. Drop me a line if there's anything I can do to help, but I'm sure you'll be fine. The processes now for joining the anonymous airline are smoother than they were, but it's a big change for a lot of people, so depending on where you're coming from, enjoy it. And if you come at the right time of year, it's lovely. But right now it's 22 degrees, but in summer it's less pleasant. And if you come beginning of spring and then you pop out of your training and it's still summer and it's been going summer for 6 months, you'll wonder what on earth you've done. But I promise you, the winters and the colder months are very, very nice indeed. That's solid advice. Thanks very much. Yeah, you probably should do some research on what flight sim streamers do on stream before streaming yourself. Yeah, that's actually solid advice, isn't it? Yeah, if you've got anything, like I say, you want to talk about or you'd like to clarify, I'm more than happy. I also probably shouldn't have started a stream when my dinner's ready, but I will just have to eat it cold later after we land in Lisbon. Oh, based in Lisbon with Easy. Very cool. You've come to the right place then. You can show us how to get in. The weather down there is... in fact, if you're still there now, the reason we're flying here is because I clicked on that where to fly thing and it said they have ATC, although the VATSIM thing didn't work for me today entirely because of user error. And that the weather was interesting, so it looks like an LVO approach onto 02. I've been to Lisbon for 20 years. It was 01 last time, or 03 last time I was there. So yeah, even the North Poles have moved. Welshie, welcome. Great to see you in, and yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. Apologies that they take so long to make. I think between my last 2 videos, there was something like 82 days. They are... It's not that they take so long, I've just got so much other stuff to do with actual flying and training and simulators, and as you've seen, the kids keep running in and out. So when I get days off, I will try and make something. The next video I am planning to make is a North Atlantic crossing video. A couple of people have asked how to get across, and then I was looking at the Cross the Pond Discord, and a lot of people were complaining in there that people don't know how to cross the pond and use the CPDLC and what you would do and how to get across, so I figured that could be quite useful. But yeah, as I said, if there's anything you want in particular to learn or just have a look at, give me a shout. More than happy to help. I started making these videos for the training department at work, and I thought, oh, I'll get into Blender and start modeling a 350 or a 380 so that I can make these videos, maybe control the weather and show people how to do crosswind landings or whatever. And this was entirely for the company. And then I stumbled across a flight sim, realised that people have already done that work for me. Is there a better view that's a bit quieter? Maybe that's better. Yeah, and then I noticed that people like Anybuilds and Phoenix and people have done all the work for me, and I can just do it that way, and then start putting the videos on YouTube. It's fun. Not pretty. Thanks, Andrew. We will follow whichever star appears suitable in your experience. The flight plan that I generated says the Zamax 2 Alpha, and then I went to put one in the FMS, and there wasn't a Zamax 2 Alpha. Let's have a look. I haven't put one in because we're just trying to get airborne. But if it's going to be an ILS on 02, we've got a 1 Charlie, an 8 Kilo, or a 9 Alpha. So, in your opinion, which one do you think it might be? Well, you would love the 350. It is, it's super quiet. You know, everybody loves the 380 because the engine is so far away and it's so big and majestic, and with the big flexible wings, it's like riding in a Cadillac. But the 350, for such a small aeroplane relative to the big sister, is wonderfully comfortable and very quiet, and actually it's really easy to fly. The cabin altitude is lower. I know that's a really boring fact, but when you sit in it for 1,000 hours a year, that makes a huge difference to your health in the long term. So, yeah, the 350 is lovely. It does feel small, but only because I spent 13 years flying the 380 before I got into the 350. Passengers seem to like it, and the technology is incredible. I spoke to the Airbus engineers when, I think they're still here actually, they helped us with the entry into service of the type. And they said apparently there's almost no parts that are actually still on this aeroplane that were on the first 350s that they delivered to, I think Qatar was the launch customer. It's just a continual pace of change. It's completely different wings, a different shape, different winglets. They even made the fuselage wall thinner somehow, which for some Asian carriers put an extra column of seats all the way down economy. So yeah, it's just continual evolving. It's a wonderful aeroplane. Zero 02 Zamax 2 Alpha. That's what I thought, right? So I've got a 9 Alpha, an 8 Kilo, or a 1 Charlie. I don't know why. Basics makes sense. Let's have a look from the operating seat what it looks like. My thingy is up to date. By my thingy, I mean Navigraph, and no, that wouldn't happen, but I can get rid of that. That makes sense, right? Just come downwind, turn left, land. Zamax, Adam, yeah. That looks reasonable. I guess easy these days are using iPads and stuff in my day, he says, we didn't have all that stuff. We were paper charts and big books. But yeah, I guess they've moved with the times. It was a wonderful company to work for. I really, really enjoyed working for EasyJet. The only reason I left EasyJet and went to BA because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I really didn't enjoy it, to be honest. I was at EasyJet in Liverpool with some wonderful people, and as a new pilot, it was a great place to learn to fly. We used to fly visual approaches every day when we felt like it. We made friends. We didn't do layovers unless they sent us out of base. But I made far more friends, including my wife, who's downstairs. Far more friends at EasyJet than I did when I went to BA, where we were doing layovers. So yeah, I have only very, very good things to say about EasyJet, and of course over the years I have had the pleasure of flying with and training many EasyJet pilots, including recently on the 350 at an anonymous airline in the Middle East, and they are all brilliant. So the training department at EasyJet must be fantastic, and I guess it has to be if you're taking people with 200 hours total time into the right seat of an airliner and making them do 4 sectors a day. I looked at my logbook the other day because one of the other videos that I'd like to make is to remake my first day as a pilot, and that was from Liverpool to Manchester, Liverpool to Geneva, Geneva to Manchester, back to Geneva, and then into Liverpool. It's a big W pattern. And I don't think I would survive a day like that today, because I don't think I've got the stamina. But yeah, it was just day one, go and do this commercially, and the training involved to do that safely is second to none. I've been, really, really impressed with EasyJet pilots. And you will really enjoy the transition if you are joining the anonymous airline on the 350, because it's actually closer, in my opinion, to the 320 and 321 if you flew that. They fly very similar. Obviously, there are more toys, and finding the information, which is actually why I made the last video I did about the FMS, with a lot of the guys that I had coming across from the 320 to the 350 and 380. The company doesn't have a video to show you how to use the FMS, so the first time you see it is when you're in the simulator, and you've got so many other things that you need to cover when you do come across in that time that you don't have time to just play with the FMS, which is why I made that last video. But you'll love it. It's a great aeroplane. One thing that I find people struggle with not necessarily struggle with, but have to adjust to coming to long haul flying from someone like EasyJet is just learning to slow down. You know, some of our flights on the 350 can be quite short, but some of them can be really, really long. And if you're used to having everything done, including the OFP and the flight plan, and we used to have the brown paper envelope with the OFP, and you're used to getting that done before you get through 15,000 feet, we just don't do that. You don't do anything before top of climb, and even then, it's a different way of thinking. You know, it's more about the what-if scenarios rather than actually managing conditions. And in many ways, as a long-haul pilot, I'm a worse pilot than certainly from a handling point of view, than I was when I first arrived out here, having flown the 320 for 7 or 8 years. But I have other skills now for situational awareness and planning and management and people skills. Yeah, it's a different way of flying, and you will really enjoy it. We've got some really cool people over here, and we go to some cool places, and as there are more of these aeroplanes that are delivered, they will go to more and more and cooler places, and probably 5 continents by the end of the year. Not this year, obviously, that's only a couple of days away, but by the end of next year. So yeah, good fun. Ethan, good luck with your ground school. You will love it, and if you need anything at all, give me a shout. I think I did my ground school with Bristol ground school. I don't know if they're still going, but essentially all we did was learn the question bank and the answers to the questions. I didn't know absolutely anything about actually flying aeroplanes by the time I got into the right seat of one of these things. So just get through the exams and move on to the part of the career that you'll actually enjoy. Hey Alex. I'm really going to have to try and find a way of getting the screen chat somewhere I can see it. Oh. Hi Mohammed Al-Hajri, hello. Yeah, live stream, just playing around. The start of it was not entirely successful. Trying to get this aircraft pushed back and then trying to use VATSIM. Even though I've used VATSIM before, this is a new installation and maybe I should have tried it off stream first. That was probably a good idea. But yeah, it will only get better as we go forward, but it's great to have you guys in. Yeah, Andrew, I've actually just flown. My last flight was with a gentleman from EasyJet who'd done, I think, 13 years in Milan. Really, really nice guy, super. He was on the 380. Super competent, really, really easy to get along with, loads of situation awareness. You will slot right in here. The ethos and the training is very similar, and the way that we operate is very similar. It's just like I said, the type of flying will just require that you perhaps learn to slow down a touch. But yeah, you'll get used to it really quickly, and you'll really like it, hopefully. Yes. 4 sectors to 1 or 2, absolutely. I think there has been a time when I was here that we have done 4 sector days, but very, very unlikely. The turnarounds are too long. There's too many people on the aeroplane. Yeah, even 2 sector days they're actually quite fun these days. You know, if you end up on something like the 380 long haul, you'll maybe do 3 trips a month, and all you do is you take off and sit there. Completely useless, mostly brain dead for 6-7 hours, go to the bunk, sleep for 7-8 hours, come back, land and go to a hotel. It's almost too easy, to be honest. So yeah, you'll like it. It's cool to get paid to go and see the world. You know, you go to places because they tell you to go to places, but you maybe wouldn't choose to go to. Case in point, I maybe wouldn't have had South Korea at the top of my list of places to visit, but I've been there several times and looked around and seen some stuff that I would never have seen had I not worked here in this job. So yeah, make the most of it while you can. Please, when you do get on a layover, don't just sit in the hotel room, because there are too many people that do, myself included at times. But yeah, we're very, very lucky. Do I still fly the 380? Yes, my last flight was a 380, but while they call it mixed fleet flying, I'm pretty much a 350 pilot, and I get a recency trip on a 380 once a month. So next month I think I have 5 350 trips and 1 on the 380. And even that 380, I think it's just Cairo and back. It's not layover. Alfie, that's a great idea. Thanks, man. I'm going to bring the stream up just so I can see chat. Look at that. I'm on YouTube. I'm streaming. Sorry, I'm very, very easily amused. Oh, brilliant. Now I need a phone mount. Give me 2 seconds. Alright, I'm going to have to turn the volume down, otherwise you won't be able to hear me. In my nerdier moments, I 3D printed a phone mount. Look at that. Chat. Andrew, so we're looking forward to joining next year. Need your department to finalise the plan for next financial year. Really looking forward to flying 350. Yes, I think they probably need to finalise the plan for next week before they finalise the plan for a whole year. But yes, essentially the plan is get loads and loads of aeroplanes and as many people as we possibly can to fly them as quickly as we possibly can. So, you know, if you've got a joining date and you can join sooner, they will snap your hand off. Yes. Was it a difficult decision picking up the whole family and moving to the Middle East? I can see how it might be. I worked at BA, which was not really close to my wife's family or my family. In fact, when I started at Heathrow, after a year we moved back up to the Midlands to be closer to my wife's family, and even then I was driving down at 1 o'clock in the morning for an early report, which I probably shouldn't have done, because I didn't really want to stretch to the Premier Inn at Terminal 5, and that was on the old contract at BA. So, you know, commuting and the salary with young kids didn't really go very far. And to top it off, like I say, having come from EasyJet, where I really enjoyed my job, I didn't really enjoy working there. So when the anonymous airline popped up and said, hey, do you want to come and fly an A380? We'll give you a house, we'll drive you to work. It was a really easy decision. You know, thankfully my wife was super supportive. But it was a difficult move. You know, it's a long way from home. You come up here and you get off the aeroplane in a very different place. You know, it's not like the UK here. Things are done very differently. And the first few days before my family arrived, I remember sitting in an empty house on a sofa that I made out of a television box, wondering if I'd made the right decision. And genuinely, I absolutely did. I love living out here. It's incredibly safe. It's almost too easy to live in the Middle East. You know, if I want something at 2 o'clock in the morning delivered, I can just touch my phone in the right place. It appears at the door. There are vans that drive around to your house and fill up your car with fuel, which is from an app. You'll never pack your own shopping. It's just, like I say, it's almost too easy to live out here. So actually one of the challenges is convincing my children that this is Disney World. It's not, we don't really live in the real world. So yeah, it's wonderful, it's really safe, it's a really nice place. And the flying is great. And again, even the flying is potentially too easy because we get 2 days of rain per year. The rest of the time, the worst weather you're going to find in this part of the world is a 5-knot tailwind. So it doesn't necessarily make you a good pilot, although some of the places that we fly to can be challenging. And the way that we get there can be challenging, you know, with the Polar Ops and North Atlantic stuff and South Atlantic to South America. Yeah, so it's a different type of flying. But no, I don't think it was a difficult decision, and the only time I regretted the decision to move out to the Middle East was during COVID. Had I stayed at BA, I would have kept my job. Yeah. How long have I been with the Unnamed? 13. This is my 14th year. Yeah. Hello from your neighbour from India. I'm an aerospace engineer working with an aircraft OEM, so I worked on the big ones and the small ones. Awesome. Thank you very much for your work. Where are you based? That's really cool. I always wish I knew more about how these things worked. Because obviously, Airbus, for example, have a way of just giving us the information that we need and not really anything else, and not knowing. I'll give you an example, right? All of those circuit breakers, not a clue. I haven't got a clue what they do. Sometimes I reach into a checklist from the QRH down there, and it says pull this circuit breaker, and you have to stand up and move this thing out of the way, and you go, okay, you've got letters and numbers down here, pull this one for 5 seconds. I have no idea what's happening in the background. It would be It would be nice to know. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it's probably for the best that they don't tell the pilots what's really going on. I think it was it the AirAsia 320 where they started pulling these to do a was it a rudder trim reset in the rudder travel limiter reset, which they'd seen an engineer do on the ground, and then they had the same fault in the air and tried to do the same reset, and then the rudder started testing itself in the air. I guess maybe there's a reason that they don't give pilots access to the sort of information that you have as an engineer, really to keep us safe and stop us doing things, because like I say, it gets boring and we'll just start pushing buttons. Bangalore, great place. We do layovers there on a large aeroplane. Nice place. Great hotels in India. Oh my word, you guys really know how to make hotels. Were you on the 737 in Liverpool? I was not. I was just after the 320 went to Liverpool. So I think the 737 was still in Belfast. So when I first joined, they kept sending us over to Aldergrove when they started putting the 320s in there while they were rating their pilots onto the Airbus. I missed my time dispatching at Manchester with Donata in the Middle Eastern Airlines. Huh. I wonder if I knew you. I've been here since, say, 2013, 2012. And I used to fly, pre-COVID, I used to go to Manchester every week. Great place. I used to bid to go there all the time because the kids were really young and my wife was like, okay, we need this from Tesco. It was a weekly Tesco shop. It was me just bidding to go to Manchester every week. I actually haven't been back to Manchester since COVID. But yeah, it was weird. The ground staff there, the bus drivers, lovely people, really, really nice. There's a whole team dedicated to just making a flight director. Wow. Flight directors are great, but they say they make bad pilots. Not necessarily bad pilots, but being able to turn them off and still make the aeroplane do what you want it to do is a really valuable skill. In fact, I had I think the best lesson I ever had was during my line training at Liverpool. One of the instructors, his name was Steve Berg, really, really nice guy. I think he was an ex-Tornado pilot, just had capacity overflowing. And we lined up on the runway at Liverpool, flying to Belfast. And he reached over and he went click, click, turned off the flight directors as we lined up. He said, right, take me to Belfast. I may have briefly soiled myself, but so essentially now you have raw data, you have no autopilot, you could use the autopilot, but there's no flight director, and no auto thrust. And I pretty much moved the thrust levers forward and then stood on the runway and watched the aeroplane take off without me. I have never worked so hard mentally in my life. It was a great lesson, really, really great lesson. And that's the sort of thing that the EasyJet training department will provide for you. Because although I struggled, I think I was literally dripping with sweat by the time we landed in Belfast. I just learned so much and grew in confidence knowing that, hey, I can actually fly this thing. But yeah. What an absolute legend, Stevens. It probably is. But, oh, you're at Manchester 2018 to 22. Cool. Great people. And we used to do a lot of Liverpool, Manchester stuff. Yeah, great place. And we've got quite a few people out here that used to work at Manchester, similar time. Rumours the 350 may go there next year to Manchester. Yes, there may be an airline that may be sending an A350 to Manchester next year. I know there is an airline that has, I think, 5 slots there now, and they're only using 3. Possibility that some of those flights may, and this is all rumour, so I can talk about it freely online because I have no information that you guys have. This is all just rumour. But some of those Manchester flights may go to somewhere like the US, kind of like Singapore do from Manchester to Houston. Maybe they'd do like, I don't know, Manchester Vegas would be cool. People keep talking about us taking the 350 to Vegas, and I think they're probably just manifesting. I don't know if there's enough traffic to go there or enough oil revenue, but it would be fun. Definitely be some stories from the layover. Oh cool, you flew with Steve as well. What a legend. So excited to get to where you are in your career. Start my CPL literally next week. Perfecto controls the first flight lesson, although I'm intimidated by the airline hiring process. Well, my dude, I am not going anywhere. If there's anything that you need at any stage, hit me up. Like I said before, there's a link on the YouTube page. Just send me an email. If there's anything I can do to help. I have a friend who runs a company called Resilient Pilot in the UK. They kind of specialise in that sort of stuff as well. I do occasional mentoring with them, so if you need to chat one-to-one, it's all free. It's all kind of funded by the UK government. More than welcome to chat at any point. Airline hiring process, they kind of just, the best way of describing it, they can train you, and you wouldn't be a nightmare to sit next to for an extended period of time. So if this guy, I mean, he looks a bit mental, but if he was highly opinionated and really argumentative but could fly an aeroplane, I wouldn't hire him, because nobody would want to sit next to him. And actually that becomes dangerous. Like, he can't even put his feet on the ground. It's like his feet are hovering over the rudder pedals. It's very strange. It's the chill. Yeah, look, you don't need to be a perfect pilot. It would almost be better to have somebody who's new, because you don't have to unlearn bad habits from a previous airline. So yeah, the airline hiring process, like I say, is not something that you should be concerned about. Get your licenses, get as much experience as you can. It's still planned to be a great time to join the industry for the next few years. So if you meet the minimum requirements and you don't fall apart in an interview, then you'll be absolutely fine. I would say don't rush to get to necessarily where I am. It is, you know, the hiring requirements to come and join me out here are a lot less than they used to be. But I really, really enjoyed the previous stages of my career. You know, I was only at EasyJet for 3 years, then I went to BA for 3 years, and then I came out here and I missed that portion of making friends and the manual flying and the LVOs and the crosswinds and that sort of stuff. So my first command was an A380, and that was a very, very steep learning curve, having been flying for 15 years. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for starting small. I mean, I was lucky I never went turboprops or instructing before the airlines. I did what most people do, and went straight to EasyJet as my first aviation job. So there was a very, very steep learning curve. I remember jumping into this thing, and the only way I knew of making the thing go up and down was open climb or open descent. Genuinely, like minimum sim time, minimum instruction to get me into a period where I could generate income for an airline. And it just wasn't efficient. And that's something you, like, the experience, there's a reason that they have an hours requirement, because they think that you might come with some experience from those hours. If that makes sense. Like 1,500 hours flying an A380 super long haul is far less valuable, in my opinion, than 1,500 hours at somewhere like EasyJet doing 4 sectors a day in and out of low-vis ops and de-icing and cold weather ops and 40-knot crosswinds. So yeah, there are a lot of discussions in OEMs and component manufacturers and how much info to give the pilots. Yes, the reason is that it's not that we don't trust pilots, it's just that there's so much in each chapter. I 100% agree. Like I say, it would be nice to know what's really going on, but I know enough to effectively operate the aeroplane. And I feel like giving us more information may cause pilots to do stupid stuff. It's especially given how boring it can be when you're sitting in the cruise with nothing to do. Give you a case in point, on the 350, there's a maintenance menu. Usually it's on a computer that lives at the back here, but you can access it in flight on the OAS. And if you open that maintenance menu in flight, it's the only way that you can see the aeroplane extending the flaps in the cruise to control the center of pressure and the center of gravity of the wing, which is really cool. But if they wanted us to know that, they would have put it on the pilot's menu, not the engineer's menu. So yeah, I think pilots have a curiosity that can get them into trouble sometimes. Still remember my first line flight on the 737 Luton to Geneva, and I was still in Luton top of descent. Absolutely, yeah. So far behind the aeroplane that you can't see it. Absolutely, yeah, I know that feeling well. I actually experienced that again recently when I transferred onto the 350, which is weird because I've been flying for quite a while now. And I got that feeling in the sim during takeoff. When I did my zero flight time training, the 350 has this insane tailwind or strong crosswind procedure where you go full forward stick, which, yeah, it's not that much pressure, but it's more pressure than you're used to, which requires conscious effort. Then you set the thrust levers to 25%. And then once they've stabilized, you keep moving forward gradually so that you reach the climb gate at 20 knots. And then wait a little bit longer, and then at 40 knots ground speed, you then go to the flex MCT. But then in that point, you're also supposed to remember to keep pushing forward, and you're supposed to remember to read the FMA. And the 350 has this odd behavior where, because of the length of the fuselage and the engines are so close to the fuselage, in a crosswind, the downwind engine is shielded by the fuselage, so it's not getting as much air as the upwind engine. So it actually produces less thrust, which means that in the initial part of the takeoff roll, in a strong crosswind, the aircraft actually weathercocks in the other direction because of thrust asymmetry, which is really, really odd. I've never known an aeroplane do this. So I'm now pushing full forward stick, staring at the ground speed and the engines to try and get 25, then climb thrust at 20 knots, then look for 40 knots and go to flex MCT, and still pushing forward and trying to remember the FMA. And then the airplane is, I look up and the airplane started to go off the side of the runway in the other direction to the direction I was expecting it to go. Then all of a sudden you're at 80 knots and you're supposed to start releasing the pressure on the side stick. And genuinely, it's the only time I've ever felt maxed out during a takeoff run. It's an insane procedure. So now what I teach the guys when I do their ZFTT is you kind of just stabilize at 25% and then keep going slowly. It doesn't necessarily matter if you get there at exactly 20 knots. It doesn't matter if you don't get to flex MCT by 40 knots because it will drop up an ECAM, say your thrust levers are in the wrong place. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I know that feeling, and I still get it day to day. Maybe my capacities are dwindling with fatigue. Student pilot in the US doing my PPL. I want to go over to the EU after I graduate from university and finish my CPL there. Do you think that's a good idea, or is there a smarter way to do this? If you have the option to get a green card and an FAA license, I would definitely stay there. The career path in the US and plans for growth are huge at the moment. You know, Delta, American pilots, they're getting crazy money, and if you it looks like you just kind of have to not be unlucky. I've seen guys going from Piedmont to American and Endeavour, I think, to Delta with ridiculously low hours, and then doing an upgrade onto a 737 or a 320 at Delta or American, again, really, really early in their careers, and they're getting paid silly money, and they are protected. So the union rules are super valuable. They really are. Like I say, the only time I ever regret moving to the Middle East was during COVID, when I lost my job and there was nothing I could do about it. Had I been in the US, or indeed had I been in the UK, that maybe wouldn't have been such an issue. And I know lots of pilots over here would jump at the chance to get one of the, I think they call it the E2B or E1B, E2. There's a visa program for airline pilots to be able to get a visa to go and fly in the US. And I think if they opened it up, many pilots, even from the Middle East, would absolutely go. Purely from a flying perspective, the EU is great for learning. It will make you a great pilot because the standards are very high. Air traffic control, unless you're in Spain, are very well standardized pretty much everywhere you go. You'll get exposure to all sorts of weather and wind conditions and mountains and low vis ops and crosswinds and de-icing. So you'll be really busy, but you will learn really quickly. And again, I can't speak highly enough of someone like EasyJet because they produce a great pilot in challenging conditions. So whatever works for you, I think, like I said, if you can work in the US, I would try and do that. Yeah, I don't care how much money I make as a pilot, I just want to be one. Fair enough. I don't really have a way of getting a green card unless I spend 6 to 8 years in the US, and I don't want to wait that long. Yeah. Like I said, man, the opportunities worldwide are huge at the moment, and it's only going to keep growing. So I think in the US you would maybe have to start on a small aeroplane, whereas in Europe you can go straight onto a 320 with EasyJet with 200 hours. You don't have to do the turboprop thing. You don't have to do the instructing thing. So yeah, if you just want to jump into the right seat for 320, yeah, come to the EU, definitely. We have similar on 320 with tailwind takeoff, but not as bad as that. Yeah, true. Does the 350 has a 3-stage spool up at high thrust settings like the 380 with the Trent 900s? Yes, so it is a 3-spool engine, the XWB, but I really like the Rolls-Royce engines on the 350. They are super responsive. On the 380, I much prefer the Engine Alliance because there are fewer moving parts and they respond quicker. The 350 XWB engines, although I don't know what Rolls-Royce did differently, but they behave like the Engine Alliance engines on the 380. They start up really quickly. They're really efficient. They sound pretty cool. And other than the weird crosswind tailwind procedure, we don't have an ice shedding procedure unless there's quite a complex procedure to extend taxi out time in freezing fog. But if you're just taxiing around on cold water or even snow, you don't have to shed ice before takeoff on the 350 Rolls-Royce engines, which is, I don't understand why not, but we don't, which makes me love those engines, especially at this time of year. One of the big issues with European airlines like Easy or Ryanair are tied into the big training companies. So entry to those airlines is harder with a frozen ATPL from other training companies. Yes, I agree entirely. Although, I think, what is it, 7 years they tie you in? 7 years, EasyJet will disappear very quickly. And at the end of that, you'll come out with 3,500 hours of command. Well, 3,500, probably more than that. Nearly 5,000 hours at a command. So it's not a bad point, and like I say, 7 years will go very quickly, especially on those rosters. I have, the EasyJet pilots I've spoken to recently say they are working really hard. And if you don't like Gatwick, you probably shouldn't go to EasyJet because at some point all routes lead to Gatwick. But yes, I agree. They have to get their pilots from somewhere, so they have some very strong deals with airline training companies. Myself included, I went that way. I was CTC, I went to EasyJet. But it's a well-established and well-trodden path. And actually, some of those courses almost guarantee a role with an airline, which if you're doing self-made routes or hours building or instructing, if the economy isn't right, it can be very difficult to get into. Jay, Pleasure, man. If there's anything else I can help with, give me a shout. Uh-oh. Child alert. Yeah, she wants to say hi. Not me. Like, hey. Oh dear, hello. Yes. ATC troubles in Spain. Yeah, at least the Spanish turn up to work. I'm like, where are we now? Oh yeah, the Bay of Biscay. Where are we? This airspace, quite frequently closed. EasyJet pilots will be highly familiar with these airways. In fact, let me zoom in so I can show you. I think this is Tango 9 here. Technically an oceanic flight. When I was at EasyJet, I felt like I'd really made it when I went oceanic and got to use HF, because the French were on strike. And this green line here is the boundary of French airspace, so you fly up and down this airway. Yes, so the Spanish can be interesting when they turn up to work. 100% of Gatwick. Got my command there in 14. Yes, sir. It's an absolute beast. I went to Gatwick last month, 6 weeks ago, on the 380. That was fun. But yeah, it is just a giant orange blob. The BA were absolutely mental, giving all of those slots to what became EasyJet. Yeah, Andrew, you'll definitely get exposed to the North Atlantic tracks properly. There is an airline who shall remain nameless. They do a flight on the 380 from Milan to New York, which actually follows the NAT track at the time of the NAT tracks with all the European carriers. Yeah, you'll definitely get exposure to following them. Otherwise, most of the other North American flights from the Middle East are on random routes. So you follow the NAT procedures, but there's not really any other aeroplanes nearby usually. Or you're so far north, you're actually going over the North Pole, which again is another type of operating. I've always been a nervous flyer. Turbulence is always bad for me. How can I get over it in your opinion? It's not like you can fly weekly to expose yourself to it a lot. Difficult one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I also hate turbulence. Genuinely. I wish all flights were like this is right now. Because then I can read a book and think about and focus on other things. The way that I rationalize it is as follows. If you compare turbulence in an aeroplane to driving down a bumpy road, I guarantee to you that the driving down a bumpy road is a lot more violent than the turbulence that you get in an aeroplane. And there's a lot more thing to hit when you're on a road. You know, the bumps could actually hurt you, and the car can crash into something. Up here, let me find a camera. There's very little to hit. So, while it is uncomfortable, you're not going to hit anything. And turbulence can't bring down an aeroplane. Not a modern aeroplane. They are stress tested to within an inch of their life. Like if you ever watch one of those wing tests where they show you how much the airliner wings are designed to bend before they actually break, it's horrible. It's uncomfortable, and I find a lot of this may not apply to you, but for me, if I am in a situation like turbulence in the back of an aeroplane, it's uncomfortable because of a lack of information and a lack of control. There's nothing you can do about it, and you can't just stop. You know, if I go back to the bumpy road analogy, you can stop driving at any point. You can just pull over. Whereas in an aeroplane, you can't just pull over. So I've had probably moderate turbulence. You know, if you look at the actual definition of what severe turbulence is, I think you'll struggle to find any pilots that have actually come across real severe turbulence in their career. But it's deeply uncomfortable, and you can't make it stop. You can change level, of course. You can reduce the speed as you're supposed to do. But if you're stuck in clear air turbulence, you just have to wait, and that's out of your control, and that's deeply uncomfortable. But not necessarily dangerous. Does that make sense? Yeah, the bite on the seat, same thing. And probably is more appropriate because you can't stop. So yes, turbulence is uncomfortable, and I find a lot of it comes from a lack of knowledge about a lack of information about what's causing it. I find the guys at the front could definitely help more, airline permitting, in the terms of the information. So, for example, if I have turbulence coming up, I'll let people know, rather than just having people look around going, why is it really bumpy? If I say to you in advance, like, listen, it's going to be bumpy for, I think, maybe the next 30 minutes. Please listen to the crew, strap your stuff away. I'll try and do as much as I can, but I promise you it's not dangerous. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. It's uncomfortable, and I don't enjoy it. I really don't. Nobody enjoys. I mean, you'd have to be quite twisted, I think, to really enjoy turbulence. But no, I don't like it. And like I said, because it's unavoidable sometimes and out of your control. Gunny, g'day. Should we talk about the cricket? Or maybe not. Thank you for stopping by. Good to see you. 1.5 is the safety factor. It's 50% more load than the ultimate load. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the wings are not going to snap off an aeroplane, even if you point it in the middle of a hurricane. It's just not going to happen. At least not modern, new aeroplanes. I think it's the control element also for me. Sat in the back with no input. Yeah, absolutely. I think if you were up the front looking at what the crew were looking at, you might find it more comforting. And actually, you'll find on long haul as well, when you come and join us. Sometimes, for example, if there's turbulence for a while, or there's no turbulence, and you've got the seatbelt sign on, the crew will call up and say, hey, do we need the seatbelt sign on? Meaning, you idiot, I think you've forgotten to turn it off. It's because they don't know. They're not looking at what we're looking at. The last flight I did, literally 2 days ago, we're climbing into a 130 knot headwind. So the seatbelt sign was on, because in my experience and my judgment, there's a high possibility of turbulence. And as it goes, we got really lucky, and it was perfectly smooth. And then the phone rings. I'm just wondering about the seatbelt sign on because the passengers want to use the toilet. I get it, but it's on for a reason, because in my experience and my judgment, there is a possibility that it might be turbulent. And I guarantee if I have the seatbelt sign off and somebody in that sort of conditions and that sort of wind, and we hit a pocket of air and somebody goes through the roof, then I'm going to have questions to answer. I believe there are Chinese airlines, it might be China Southern, I'm not sure. One or two of the Chinese airlines, they just fly along with the seatbelt sign on the whole time. Because, I mean, you're strapped to a seat in a pressurized metal tube doing 1,000 kilometers an hour through the sky. Probably should have a seatbelt sign on, a seatbelt on. So, yes, it's probably a good idea. Yeah, I digress. Sorry. Yeah, at moderate, touching severe once in a career. I'm saying, don't like. Yeah, I agree. Genuine moderate turbulence is actually terrifying. It's abrupt changes in attitude or altitude, which is awful. Severe is defined as uncontrollable. Many thanks for your content. Look forward to our paths crossing next year. Good luck. Give me a shout if there's anything I can do, and if you have any videos that you'd like to see, please, I would appreciate the input and the ideas. It's kind of worrying to me because I really don't know what the future holds, because I'm doing my flying from Part 61 school since I'm a full-time student, doing a degree, so I have something to fall back on. High school once took me to EFTA. Oh, there was a 380 captain who'd retired due to a problem with his knee, now training student pilots. He said to do something to fall back on. Yes. look, COVID taught me quite a painful lesson, genuinely, that this career, although wonderful, is highly fragile. You know, I was an A380 captain. I had no reason to have a backup plan. I had a good job. I was fairly competent at my job. I didn't see something like that happen, and I appreciate the same thing happened to many other people in many other careers. It wasn't just aviation. But it did teach me to have a backup plan. One of the reasons I started making videos is to learn some skills to fall back on, not necessarily qualifications. People don't ask me when they get on my aeroplane what my A-level results were or what my degree results were, but having skills that I could use to generate an income to feed my kids if the aviation thing didn't work anymore, absolutely is 100% something that I would advocate and do. Now, it doesn't have to be qualifications. You can monetize other skills. Like, as an example, you can make videos and put them on YouTube for people to laugh at when you don't know how to use VATSIM. But yeah, I would always advocate in any career having something to fall back on. But if it's at a cost of delaying your entry into aviation, you can always build those skills at the same time. Happy New Year. Thank you, Andrew. Happy New Year to you too. What is it? Today's the 30th. Wow. Yeah, I'm working tomorrow and on the 1st, so there is no New Year for me. Since there really is no guarantee in this line of work, anyway, spending so much money on school and also flying with no real view ahead is worrying, but I'm ignoring it, praying for the best. Also isn't great when you think about it too much. It becomes more worrying. Did you ever go through that phase? Yes, of course, every day. Absolutely. It is a massive investment. It really is a massive investment. Flying is not cheap. That's one of the reasons they have to pay people so much. And one of the reasons they are struggling to get so many people, because it is a risk. All I can tell you is that what looks at the moment like a purple patch, a very positive period for the aviation industry for the foreseeable future. Now, I would have said that in 2020. So take that what they make of that what you will, but of course you can't legislate for every possible outcome. Sometimes you've got to take a risk and keep working at it until it becomes true. I guess you make it happen. But yes, of course, it is a big outcome, big outlay, it's a big cost. It's never 100% guaranteed. You know, I've known people who have started aviation training, got a lot of hours and a lot of money into it, and then either not been able to get the medical or not been able to grasp one of the concepts. So yeah, it's never guaranteed, right? But it is worth it when you get there. Do you get chosen to be a captain? Is it hours flown? How does it work? So there's an element of hours flown. There are minimum experience requirements depending on the airline and the country you work in. I know where I am, you need to have minimum 6,000 hours total time to be a commander of an airliner. And then on top of that, usually there are internal requirements for takeoffs and landings on an aeroplane. And then you generally have to have a fairly robust training record. You know, every time you go into the simulator, it gets recorded, so they know if there is a trend capability-wise. So yeah, you do kind of get chosen, but in a time when there are so many deliveries at the moment where I am, and for almost every airline I believe in the Middle East, as soon as you hit the minimum hours requirements, you will do your course unless you have lots on your training record. Do you get chosen, ask for it, or is it a specific path from the get-go? So good airlines, they don't hire first officers. We hire pilots who maybe are not a captain yet, but you are hired based on your ability to become a captain one day. So all of your training, and actually the aviation industry recently has moved to what's called EBT, so evidence-based training. and you are building those skills from day one. As an example, our simulator checks every 6 months now are split over 2 days, and there's an evaluation phase where we sit in the back and see how your competencies are. It's almost like if you came to me for golf lessons and you wanted to improve your swing, the first thing we would do is go outside and hit a few balls, so I could look how good you are at hitting a golf ball. It's the same for our recurrent simulator checks. We have a short evaluation phase, and then the rest of the 2-day event is devoted to working on the things that we identify at the beginning. And those things for the first officer are potential command skills. So we don't train first officers. We train future captains. I don't know how to call it. I don't want to say hypocritical, but if there's a high demand of pilot, why do they need pilots for 2,000 hours on type or any aircraft with fly-by-wire, for example, for an aircraft above 10 tons? I get they don't want to spend money on type ratings. I recently read Lufthansa started cancelling flights due to a lack of pilots. Isn't that more expensive? Make it make sense. Yes. The short answer is insurance. Very, very expensive insurance. For example, the insurance certificate in the A380 is something silly, like $1 billion of liability. Might be more, might be 3. That's guaranteed by the insurance company. So they absolutely have a say in who gets to be in overall charge of that aeroplane. So yes, it would be great. And actually, do you know what? I agree with what you're saying. So if you've flown a Beech 1900 for 2,000 hours, doing 8 takeoffs and 8 landings a day, or you're one of the skydive pilots and you're going up and down, up and down, up and down, you're a really, really good pilot. I agree. Stick and rudder skills. But that's not really what we do. Now, it would be lovely to be able to interview everybody and be able to get a full career breakdown of every single individual who applies to join an airline, but that's just not practical. If you think, even where I am, they probably get thousands of applications a week. They don't have the resources and the time to be able to go that deep into everybody's history. So what they're going to have to do is apply a basic filter to start with. And that basic filter has to be hours, because the hope is that in those hours that you've spent, you have gained some experience. I don't necessarily agree with it. Pretty familiar with the concept of deliberate practice. Like me sitting there flying an A380 for 10,000 hours, I could have spent 9,500 of those hours staring out the window or reading books or watching Netflix. Not that we do, but we don't. And actually, almost half of that time could have been in the bunk. But you see a guy coming from EasyJet with 3,000 hours, and you know that 3,000 hours has been hard earned. There's been a lot of flying the aeroplane, there's been a lot of decisions to be made, there's been a lot of handling of takeoffs and landings and de-icings and LVOs and crosswinds. So it is an oversimplified metric just looking at the hours somebody has in their logbook. But like I say, there has to be an initial filter. Is there psychological aspect to being a captain? Are you tested mentally to handle high stress loads, etc.? Yeah. It comes from exposure. It's stressful, right? It genuinely is stressful. I would love to tell you that all airline captains are planes turning. All airline captains are these absolute robots and they never feel fear. It's just not true. When I first became a captain, the first time I was rostered for a 40-knot crosswind, shortly after I did my upgrade, I called sick. I wasn't sick. I just wasn't ready. Because I was scared that I might make a mistake. There are times where, for the first few years after I did my upgrade, I was looking at the weather for an upcoming flight a week in advance and just refreshing, like mentally preparing myself for the difficult aspects of my job that are coming up. It can only come with exposure, because over time now I don't spend quite so long. And that doesn't mean I'm less professional. I'm just less anxious about what it might be because I've seen it. Having done things, it's like, give you an example, public speaking. The first time you ever get asked to go on stage and speak to people that you don't know, pretty nerve-wracking. But if you speak to someone like Tony Robbins, who's been doing it for 20, 30 years in front of many, many people, multiple times a day, doesn't get nervous. Or maybe that nerves are excitement. And it is just a case of exposure. I have seen aviation described as 9,000 hours of boredom and 1 hour of sheer terror. I think that's probably accurate. Most of the time we do sit there like this, getting irritated by the sun. Does this work? No, it doesn't. Getting irritated by the sun, getting irradiated, talking nonsense. And that's one of the challenges of long, is trying to potentially make those scenarios a bit more beneficial. So you run through like a what if scenario. And it's about preparation. I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he talks about his book launch speeches, and he says he just basically gets over the anxiety and the nerves by working so hard and preparing so much that it would be unreasonable to expect that he wouldn't be anything other than successful. And that's the way I handle it. I am as prepared as I can be every time I go to work, so that I'm less surprised. And certainly I find working as an instructor is great for that, because I see these things every day, multiple times a week in the simulator. I see how people react and how people handle to these absolute worst case scenarios, and I find that really helps. One of the things that we train for, and it's one of the massive hot topics for evidence-based training, is the startle effect. And startle effect is one of the most terrifying things for airline pilots, because you are frozen and incapable of doing anything for an extended period of time because you're not expecting it to happen. And we can train for startle by exposing people to these scenarios. So it doesn't stop you getting startled, but it might lessen the effects in terms of severity and duration. Next to the overhead switch panel on the Phoenix, it's really annoying. Where's that? Am I missing something? The sun. It doesn't matter. It would be nice to know where it is, but yeah, quite often this is our view. If you're flying from the Middle East to, I don't know, let's say New York, and you leave here at 7 o'clock in the morning, you'll take off and stare at the sun for 15 hours, which is great. And I feel really bad for the Muslims during Ramadan, because you take off during the daylight and you land at lunchtime and you've still got another 12 hours of daylight. It's yeah, difficult. All the way at the top. Oh, this? Oh, that's a vent. Oh, this? Oh, wow. It's a 320. It's always up there. Sorry, on the 350 and 380, it slides out of the roof. Thank you very much. It actually doesn't help. It's still... Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you very much. Very kind. We found it. And this thing was great, because you could actually move it. You know, if the sun was there, you could just move it over. And yeah, this is brilliant. The newer Airbus, it just has... You can basically cover this area here that I'm highlighting with the mouse, and nothing else. So if it's there, tough. If it's there, tough. There's like a gold translucent sheet that pulls out of here and just clips to that. just leaves a gap at the top. And if the sun's there, which it quite frequently is, tough. I've literally had flown with pilots that carry those car sunshades for the windshield, so they put them up in the flight deck. Don't necessarily have to be able to see out the window because it's IFI, you could be in cloud, right? What are your thoughts on Airbus working with some European airlines and pushing for single pilot ops starting with cruise? Do you think you'll see it in your lifetime? Yes, sadly I do. Depending on who you're flying with, it might not be a bad idea. But at the back of the 350, there's a coat closet in this corner here. Probably help if I was actually in a 350, I could have showed you. But it's got a third occupant seat and a table, and then a box essentially where you hang your coats. It acts as a step to get out of the sunroof escape hatch. It's quite clearly modular, like designed to be removed. And if you remove it, you could replace it with something like, I don't know, let's say a toilet and a little radio panel, so that as a single pilot you could jump up and use the bathroom without leaving the flight deck. I actually think that's going to be the next step. Airbus has been trialling, I think they call it Project Dragonfly, where they were using a camera in the nose, kind of like a Tesla, and they successfully managed to get the aircraft to taxi around an airport. Of course, they're already capable of navigating to their final destination and auto-landing. Currently, they still need pilot input, like the gear won't come down by itself and the flaps won't come down by itself, but that would be a very, very simple addition for them to try out. So yeah, I think single pilots ops is definitely something we'll see. I think first of all, it will happen on cargo, because the biggest hurdle I can see with it would be convincing passengers to get on an aeroplane that doesn't have two pilots, or a pilot at all, kind of like they do with trains and self-driving taxis we've got now, and buses and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I can see it happening. There are some hiccups that may delay it, so if you're thinking of becoming a pilot, I wouldn't be concerned about your career. I wouldn't necessarily tell my kids to become airline pilots. I think that they might just be alright, but it's not something I would actively pursue as a career for them. But like, the youngest is 9, I've just seen, so I wouldn't, you know, they're not going to be pilots potentially for 15 years, and I think it'd be a different industry by then. But yeah, single pilot ops, I can see it happening first on freighters. Maybe then 2 pilot long haul flying, so we can have 1 pilot in for the cruise, and then you just share the rest between the 2 pilots, as opposed to having 2 full sets of pilots for long haul flying. Yeah, I do see it happening. The things that would cause it to be delaying would be, I guess, stuff like GPS jamming. The GPS in many parts of the world, particularly around the Middle East, really messes with aircraft systems. The weather radar stops working, the terrain radar stops working. You get false GPWS pull-ups at 40,000 feet. That's the sort of thing they're going to need to fix before they even think about trying to remove pilots, because that requires a layer of human intervention and judgment. As I said earlier, the weather radar isn't great. Quite often, the 350 and 380, they have like a 3-dimensional weather radar, so it will tell you if it thinks the weather is what's known as off path or below you. It's quite frequently wrong, because at the top of a thunderstorm, there's not enough moisture for the weather radar to detect. And if it were just a computer, it would think, that weather's below us, we just fly straight through it, and it would fly into a thunderstorm. The autopilot also will disconnect in particularly bumpy weather, and it needs somebody to switch it back on again once it's established a normal attitude. So there's still some hiccups that they would need to get around, but yeah, absolutely. Single pilot ops, definitely. Maybe no pilot ops, probably never, but never. It's possible. Technologically wise, it's already possible. Your average 777 enjoyer, hello. There's a name I recognise. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Please let me know how it looks, sounds. It's the first time I've done this, so I'm just learning. I can talk about airplanes all day, but in terms of actually running a stream or even actually making Flight Simulator work is very much new to me. I'm flying from Dulles, to Dulles from Dubai, and I had the camera tail come on, and the sun was just beaming through, and I felt sorry for the pilot. I understand. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you see this poor bloke here? This is it. He needs some sunglasses. But yeah, like I say, when you're flying west, it can be there for 15 hours. Or if you're flying to Europe in the evening, in summer, it's just in front of you, at eye level. And as you get further west, the sun stays in the same place in the sky. But yeah, it can be a pain. But it can also make for some really long nights. You know, if we fly from Australia back to the Middle East, it can be 15 hours and still dark. Don't see the sun for the whole night. Very strange. About single pilot ops, what about emergencies? I would do a single engine failure in the sim during takeoff, and even they're just looking down to adjust the rudder trim. It's not nice. Yeah, I agree. But in order for stuff like that, the aircraft can already do it. The 777 has what's known as TAC, thrust asymmetry compensation. That will put all of the rudder in for you, and it will just fly straight. The 350 and the 380 under normal law will put most of the rudder in. And actually, the only reason it doesn't put all of the rudder in is because they want you to feel like a pilot. So you need to put the rest of it in. But yeah, it's already capable of flying without us, sadly. We're just there to look pretty. In that case, you need a revamped cockpit, and airliners get retired after 20 years or so. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why JSA about the 350 cockpit looks modular. Like it wouldn't necessarily need too much modifications to go at least to single pilot ops, maybe not zero pilot ops. And then I would imagine there would need to be some kind of ground-based override system where, let's say, our poor chap here with no eyebrows has a particularly bad day, or he's had the fish, and then he can't do his job properly. It would need to be taken over manually by somebody on the ground. Emergency override, and that therefore opens up hacking opportunities for nefarious people. So, yeah. I say it's not going to come in anytime soon. Have you seen any reliability issues with the XWB in the harsh, sandy environment of the Middle East? No, actually. So Tim Clark is not a fan of the Rolls-Royce engines. I believe they have been getting 25%, and this is a number that I heard anecdotally, of the marketed time on wing between overhauls because of the sandy conditions. And they actually really struggle performance-wise to do really long flights in hot weather. So no, I've not seen any reliability issues, but the maintenance schedules have been severely reduced for that reason, to prevent reliability issues. But yeah, the engines have been great. But yeah, I understand Singapore are trialling a coating on the inside of the blades for the 350-1000, which is supposed to improve it, but not still get close to what was originally quoted by Rolls-Royce. So until they get close to that, I think that's probably why Emirates certainly didn't order more 1000s, or at least announce an order of 1000s. I don't know what's happening in the background. But they're working fine for Qatar, and quite frankly, there isn't another aeroplane. You know, you can complain about the 350-1000 as much as you like, but what else do you buy in the meantime? The 777X doesn't really exist. I mean, it exists, but the aeroplane they brought over to the Dubai Air Show this year was a 5-year-old aeroplane. And if they're still putting out press releases every time it goes flying, then it's probably not very close to being delivered anytime soon. The 330neo, yeah, it's a good aeroplane, but it's old technology. That 787 is too small. So you can complain about it, but there isn't anything else. And they're not making any more A380s. It's just not happening. As much as you would love them to, it's not happening. So, yes. It's a great aeroplane. They should just buy it. For them and their pilots who work there. Thanks for mentioning the TAC. Yes, great system. Great aeroplane. Absolute tank. I'm surprised they've stopped building the 777-300ER because they're not building anything else. Gotta love the straight flying from the 777, yes. Also, why do carriers flying through the Middle East fly over Cairo, Saudi, Dubai, Muscat to their destination, other times just fly in between area of conflict? No time to know. Aircraft or something else. The regional level of threat changes on a daily basis. Middle East airlines have very advanced and sophisticated, I hope, security systems. They keep on top of everything. So one day you could be flying through Libya, Damascus, Iraq, Iran. The next day you won't. And they won't necessarily tell you why. So we just have to trust that A, we're out of range, and B, that they're looking after us and they know what they're doing, because we just drive the planes, really. We don't get to make those decisions. But yeah, it changes on a daily basis. Has there already been TCAS hacking demo? It is very scary. Yes, actually. I have seen it and had false TCAS RA in Moscow. And from a technological point of view, I have no idea how they do that. Like, they're generating fake aeroplanes to make you climb or descend as you're close to the ground. So what the only thing you can do is follow it, unless of course the GPWS goes off. And they're also able to spoof that. It's terrifying, genuinely terrifying. And I don't know why. I get that long-range missiles are guided by GPS and similar to aeroplanes, and if they could, they would pretend that they were an aeroplane, and I don't know. We fly to some places that I don't fly to by choice, put it that way. And again, have to just trust that the security teams are doing their job properly. But yeah, some of the flying, we're either over or very close to active conflict zones on a daily basis. How is it decided who's pilot flying and pilot monitoring? In the case of long-haul flights, who is augmenting? So the operating and augmenting crews are decided at roster publication. So you will know before you turn up to work if you are the operating crew or the augmenting crew. In terms of pilot flying, pilot monitoring, there are a few things. The captains generally, of course, are authorised to operate up to the maximum limits of the aeroplane. So maximum crosswind limit 40 knots at the I think it's 38 and 320, 40 knots, 350, 380 when landing. If that's outside of whatever limit the airline imposes on the first officer, then it would make sense for the captain to be pilot flying for that leg. Recency requirements are another one. We are supposed to do a takeoff and landing per type once every 45 days minimum. If you've been on leave, for example, or you've done a long-haul flight as the augmenting crew, or even as the operating crew, and you gave the sector to the first officer or the other pilot, then you might actually be struggling for recency. So you may have to do that flight. So yeah, it's generally just decided, we turn up, we have a look at the weather, and then have a chat, say, what do you want to do? Do you want to fly it there, or do you want to fly it back? On an augmenting, or on a long-haul flight, the operating crew generally will operate one leg and augment the way back, so only two of the pilots will be able to take off and landing of the four. But yeah, it's generally just a chat. I try to give away the challenging sectors because I'm an instructor and I'm trying to help develop people, but as long as they're within the limits. Otherwise you go from never really having flown a 10 knot crosswind to all of a sudden you'll do your upgrade and then to be faced with a 40 knot crosswind. You should be stretched a little bit more than that. Boeing is saying 2027 first flight for the triple. Yes, they are. And they also said 26 and 25 and 24 and 23 and 22 and 21. I will believe it when I see it. But yes, on paper it looks great. And I was at the Dubai Air Show this year, and I have some footage of it flying over my head, and it looks great. So I genuinely, I don't understand it. I don't know what's wrong with it, but for such enormous delays that they probably could have designed a new aeroplane by now, it must be something fundamental. What would happen in the flight deck in this situation? You're approaching a country which has just been declared war by another country. What would happen in the cockpit and what would you do? Probably we wouldn't even know, and we'd just fly over it. No, we're in active communication with our operations control center. Everywhere we go, they would probably call us up, or air traffic control would call us up and say the airspace is closed, standing by for your intentions, and then we'd have to work out where to go. We can't just pull over, so we just probably just turn around, and if we don't have enough fuel to go around that airspace, we'd have to arrange somewhere to go and stop and get more fuel. But yeah, it would never just happen without knowing. Air traffic control would mention it. If they have to close their airspace, they have to close their airspace. You can't just ignore them and fly through. I've had it. Airspace closes at short notice, and thankfully we had just about enough fuel to go around it. But it was very busy, very quickly, because we're not the only aeroplane in the sky, and there were lots of other people trying to do the same thing. So yeah, the airspace gets congested very quickly, as does the radio. Because if you're not on CPDLC, everybody all of a sudden wants to talk at the same time, and it becomes a real mess. Is there any airline which would hire new baby pilots with 250 hours on a prop aircraft, provided you weren't part of their cadet program? I'm so clueless, Reddit only helps so much, maybe you could help. Yeah, absolutely. People like EasyJet. I joined EasyJet with 220 something hours on Cessna 172 and a Diamond DA-42. If they have the sort of scheme where they will train you and give you a type rating, or maybe charge you for a type rating, you don't need airline hours to join. Even people like EFTA, the UE, you can pay for a rating which generally comes with a job at the end of it, not guaranteed. Air Arabia over here as well. Wizz Air are good ones. It depends on where you are, but yes, everybody has to start somewhere. So you don't have to have trained with somebody from the beginning, because they can fill in the gaps for you. So, yeah, absolutely. Just have a look, individual airlines, and again, Resilient Pilot is a good resource for anybody who is looking to become an airline pilot or transition into the airlines. When's my top of December? It's funny if we missed it. No, top of December 14:30. Oh, 50 bits fine. Where are we? I flew recently from boring old London sector. However, on the return back home base to Singapore, we encountered some moderate severe turbulence over Myanmar and was registered as CAT. Wondering what your most notable roller coaster ride you didn't pay for took place. Myanmar can be a real pain. Not just because of the weather, but because GPS jamming there, obviously you know that they're at war with each other. So the GPS jamming there is quite severe. I've been in that airspace and lost both weather radars in weather because of GPS jamming. But yeah, in that part of the world, it may not have been CAT. It may have been a thunderstorm that maybe they couldn't see, or they flew a little bit too close to it, or maybe it was just clear air turbulence and they don't know. But in that part of the world, the guys are used to it. It is an unfortunate reality, really, that you're going to get turbulence when you fly to Singapore. You're very lucky if you don't. My hat's off to those guys that are based there, because that would drive me mental, having to deal with thunderstorms every day. Like I say, over here in the Middle East, we get them like 2 days a year. The rest of the time, it's 5 knots and cavalcade. Latest issue was with the engine's thrust link. They also had to hold the test flights till they got done with the 737 complications. Sorry. Yes, I am amazed at how much money that company is hemorrhaging at the moment. Delayed aircraft payments for airlines that ordered these things for delivery 5 years ago must be in the billions per month. And obviously the US taxpayers, I guess, are paying for it, but that must be incredibly painful. because like I said, the 787s are delayed. They have engine issues amongst other things. The 737s were a very public mess, but they seem to be kind of sorted now, even though they need to really get on and build a new aeroplane. And then of course the 777X, and they're not building anything else. They stopped the 76, they stopped the 777-300. Like, how are they financially viable at this point in time? Yeah, I'd love to see them succeed, because it's a great aeroplane. Right. Did we put a... Yeah, we did. We put a star in. I'm going to grab a quick chart, just to make sure I don't get lost. I should probably get some weather. I think it was LBOs, wasn't it? Dear. Arrival charts. That's it. Thermax. What is the weather? Can't I get weather on here? What's the matter? 05048. That doesn't give me visibility. Alright. How can I get the weather? Can I get it on that? Or like somewhere else? Lisbon. Where it is. 80th, Lisbon. That's that. Info. Variable at 3, few at 500, 11 and 1020. Alright. That we can do. Okay. Q and H. 1020. 11 degrees. Yeah. 11 and 11 means it's going to be foggy. Variable at 3, so let's put 2002. Give it a tailwind for performance. And we need to put a minimum. Great point, perhaps it wasn't clear air turbulence. Yes, based in Singapore. Love how the clouds are formed. It amazed me so much. It was one of the reasons why I joined my airlines cadet program. Absolutely. It is so cool. Do you know what? One of my favourite things, when the weather's like this and you're in that part of the world and you can literally look out the window and watch a thunderstorm grow. It is incredible, and it gives you a real appreciation for the fact that you definitely don't want to fly inside one. Bring back the 757. Delusional that people want a 380 Neo. Yes, absolutely. You can go to the top left icon in the drop down. You'll see weather on the right hand side mini screen. This one. This one. Very much. Go to the top left icon in the drop down. See weather on the right hand side mini screen. Where am I looking? I should really get good at flight sim if I'm going to make videos about flight sim. Take flights. I'll find it. My flight. My flight. My flight. Do I just click on this? I'm on the right screen. Sorry, I don't, it's probably very frustrating, like trying to teach your granddad how to use a computer. Right there. Do I press re-import or just click on this? Where do I click for the weather? Oh, that's Manchester weather. Oh, I didn't know these things could move. I thought this was literally... Oh my word. There's the route, there's the weather. Oh my word. 1021? Alright. Oh yeah, 1020. Okay, thank you very much. Oh dear. Fog. 900 meters RVR in fog. Good. That's what we want. 8 degrees now. Oh dear. Oh, absolutely useless. Right, we need to find a minimum. So, I'm going to go to the right place. Every time I jump seat on my buddies on the 350s, we operate most of. Always so odd to sit in an Airbus when I've been flying the musty 777 for most of my life. Yes, but it's less brown, isn't it? Airbus is grey and clean and quiet and nothing moves. I'm not going to turn this into a Airbus versus Boeing debate. They're just aeroplanes. They both do the same thing. But look, tray table. It's civilized. And these don't move. Actually, it's probably a bad thing. I prefer them to actually move so I know what the aeroplane's doing. Alright. We need an approach chart for the ILS on runway 02. Wait. This is Cat 1. Where's the Cat 3 chart? Uh-oh. There you go. That's on 20. That was going to be really difficult. Okay, Cat 3 ILS. 75 meters RVR, we can just put no DH. So what you can do one of a few things, right? You can put no, or 0, or no DH. I'm just going to put no. There you go. No DH. Now it's not going to give me a decision height. No DH here. So we're going to do some low vis ops. Going to let the aeroplane auto land. Never done it in this thing. See how good it is. Incidentally, the 350 auto land is not very good. I don't know in real life. I don't like it. It's not very smooth at all. It kind of just flares, gives up, and drops itself onto the runway. Something for them to work on, I believe. All right, missed approach is straight ahead to flight level 60. We're almost at top of descent. There's Lisbon. There we go. What else do we need to do? So we've checked our flight plan. We scroll through, you'd put that there and that on something reasonable, and you'd scroll through, check all the waypoints. Like that, there. I'll probably vector, because I've got traffic turned off. When I get to a point where I feel like it's an appropriate point for a CDA, I'll try and demonstrate one of those. Most important one is this bit here. So, where's my camera? If you're flying an approach, you want to know that the course, you might have to go up one, is, so the course is correct. Now it should say here, track 025 is, why is it not telling me the course? In this gap here, it should tell us what the ILS course is that it thinks. 11 miles, 3 degrees from 4,000 feet is what you're looking for. Now there's a couple of ways to check the course. What you can do is, if you're within 250 miles, it has dialed up the ILS frequency, which is there. You can just switch it on, and that will come up 024. That's the course it's going to fly, and it should be 025. That's close enough. 11 miles from 4,000 feet, we say. There's 4,000 feet. I've got an iPad thing. There we go. There's 4,000 feet. 11 miles, India, Lima, India, and a 3-degree slope. I don't use Japanese charts. Where's the glide slope? Glide slope 3 degrees. That's the minimum we need to fly. 75 meters is actually 0. The reason they put 75 in there, because if you land in 0, you can't tax it. So they have to put a minimum. Here's something that tells you what the approach looks like. High intensity approach light system version 2. And that's what the lights look like as you go around. Straight ahead, flight level 60. Don't you tray table me, I'm sorry. Is there a specific SOP on the use of wing lights? It's very rare I see them get used. However, when I departed to Kennedy a few days ago, it was turned on for just the pushback, which is odd. That is odd. Was that on a 380? It's possible that they were maybe left on by the inbound crew, or asked to be switched on by the ground crew so that they can look at the leading edge of the wing. But yeah, I don't use wing lights almost ever because we can't see them. Some people use them at night time to say, hey, look at me, I'm flying an A380, look how bright my wings are. But no, I almost never use the wing lights. Pulling out the tray table as an argument is criminal. I'm sorry. I'm better than that. I'm not. Innobuilds is looking for an IRL 380 pilots to help them develop their new aircraft. Plan on helping them. If you do, please tell them to make a plane that doesn't end my PC. Yeah. Yes. I am on the Innobuilds testing team, kind of. In that I'm in a Discord where, as I play around with the 350 and the scenery, if I spot a mistake, then I can just send them that and they will fix it. I don't know the coding to be able to fix it properly. So I just have a direct line to be able to tell them to fix things. But yes, once the 380 is in testing, I will hopefully be as involved as possible in that, because I would like it to be in a usable state from the day it's been released. Watching you live from Joburg, onwards to Amsterdam tomorrow. Joburg is great. Be careful while you're there, but enjoy the steak and the wine. Yes, 380. Tell them to make good sounds. Yes. I mean, look, in my first video, I think I was quite critical of the sounds on the 350. They disagreed with me and changed them anyway. So make of that what you will. But yeah, it seems pretty good now, I think. I've been really impressed with this. I downloaded this Phoenix thing this week because everybody in the YouTube comments said, no, the Phoenix 320 is better. I don't know what happened at the start of this stream. I think something crashed. It was probably me, but when I end flight and came back in, and now it all works again. So there was a bit of a hiccup then, and of course it happened to happen on stream, which made me look like a bit of a mug. But it's working now. Now we'll see what the Automan looks like. Now I will say that the 350 is a more complicated aeroplane, and that they've put so much effort into things like BTV and heading control function and GPS jamming and automatic emergency descent and the ECAM system. It's a much more complicated product, and I'm really impressed that they managed to get it in the state that it was in when it was released, and it's getting better. I haven't played around much with the 340 because I don't know that aeroplane. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what they do with the 380. I have been using the, what do they call it? The fly-by-wire 380. I played around with that. I made a huge faux pas when I started the YouTube channel, in that I made a video on the 380 and was mocking the state of it, and then their devs came in the comments and said it's not supposed to be used in it, like in 2024. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to like talk bad about all your hard work, and when it was me doing the wrong thing. And actually, as it turns out, if you use the development version, it works. It's not officially released, so you can't criticize it when it doesn't, but it does work. And that's really cool, especially as it's free. Like, that is really cool. And I hope people still use their products when any builds release one, because that's sort of a looming beast. I think I've learnt more from flight simming than my ground school when it comes to reading charts. It's kind of cool. Yes, practical use of stuff. They got deliberate practice, right? I could tell you something, but if you then go and do it, you will learn a lot more. A bit like this YouTube streaming nonsense. Like, I've learnt loads today of things that hopefully I won't do next time. And hopefully the videos and streams will get better as we practice. But I can watch YouTube tutorials and videos until I'm blue in the face, but until I actually put some of that into practice, it won't stick. All right, ATC in the Infinite Wisdom. Sorry, I didn't bat in, but I will do it in the future. Clear us down to 290 as per the star. I'm going to select 290, push it, goes into DES. Have I got a... No, I haven't. I need to set up a camera for just looking at the screens. I'm sure you guys know, you guys are more familiar with these programs than me, but minimum, maximum speeds in descent mode. So as it goes below profile... What on earth was that? As it goes below profile, if it wants to save some fuel, what it can do is keep the engines at idle and sort of dribble back towards 240 knots until it catches the profile, which is what the squiggly arrow means. That's where this is going to get to here. When we get to here, and then we'll go idle thrust, and that's the most efficient way to descend. Best layover experience, if you're comfortable sharing. Absolutely. Mauritius. It's like the island from Lost, but I get paid to sit in a 5-star beach resort next to an airport, watch the aeroplanes, and go swimming in crystal clear water. It's ridiculous that anybody should get paid to go there. Really easy flight as well. It's all CPDLC all the way there. It's an island with an ILS on it. It's like a 3.8 degree slope, I think, maybe 3.5 on the ILS. I guess it didn't know what the wind was, because it's allowing it to go up there. It shouldn't go above that. Put the belts on. What other cool layovers have we done? New York. I was kind of disappointed with New York, to be honest. It's exactly like you see it in the movies. So the city's cool, apart from that it's really busy. Sorry, I cleared myself to flight level 250. Apart from that it's really, really busy and people are kind of rude. I should set this to, what was it? The wrong one? I'm going to set that for now. But the airport, JFK Airport, is just rubbish. Yeah, I've got to be careful what I say. But I was expecting more from a massive airport that has this huge history. But their approaches are silly, because they're all offset because they built too many airports too close to one another. They're very intolerant. You've seen them on YouTube. That's exactly how they are, and they expect everybody to know what they're doing from day one, and they're very impatient with you if you don't. And just very non-standard. Yeah. And then the roads are too small and bumpy, and it takes ages to drive to Manhattan. Yeah, I was disappointed with New York. Some people love the city, but I don't really. Australia is my favourite layover. It's just brilliant. Every city I go to, I've been to Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide. I haven't been to Darwin. And every single time I just think I could live there. Great coffee, fresh food. Every city has kind of everything. They have the beach, they have botanic gardens, they have national parks, they have the CBD, they have theatres, they have culture. It's just brilliant. Yeah, Australia's great. I would happily live in Australia if their aviation industry wasn't so small. Not to take anything from any builds, they are great developers. At least they don't have to sell the exact same aircraft for a couple of... Yes, absolutely. Your New York retailing is spot on. I've only been on the line for, a year now, and I feel like the airport is outdated and funky. Yeah, it is. It needs knocking down and rebuilding. They've got space. Just do what other people do and build airports out in the sea. I find that generally about US airports. They are just big concrete boxes with no soul. Dulles was the same, apart from those train carriages that they used to drive people around the airports. They call them mobile lounges. But yeah, American airports in general are not inspiring. You go to somewhere like China where they're building huge airports, or new one in Doha, the new one in Istanbul. Istanbul's an incredible airport. And it just makes you wonder what on earth they're doing in the US. Where can I clear myself to? Flight level 70, make it easier. No. 70 blue. Haven't mentioned the way that the ramp system is. Oh god, yes, the ramp system. So, if you don't know, when you fly to the US, air traffic control don't control the parking, nor do they talk to them, which is mental. So they're now having to ask you, waste radio transmission time and energy, asking you if your stand is free and if you're cleared into the ramp. Why do you not know that? I shouldn't. I'm flying an aeroplane, not controlling the. Why do you even exist if you're not going to control me? So then you have to jump on a second radio and call up another guy who's probably sitting next to the air traffic controller to ask him, hey, can I tell the guy who's sitting next to you if we're cleared into your ramp, because he doesn't know. And they expect you to do this at 100 knots while you've just landed and you're still trying to find your exit from the wrong way and they're still talking to you. Yeah. There was an Emirates flight, I think actually, was on YouTube last week. They said straight on Alpha, and they didn't make it clear to them they were going to be going all the way around the airport, because that's unusual. It might be worth mentioning. And then because they didn't immediately share the mental model of the air traffic controller, they ended up on YouTube. Now, the way that they phrased it, I maybe disagree with telling them to be more professional. But yeah, they probably should be more professional, or maybe more understanding as to the fact that we don't necessarily know what your plan is unless you tell us. Have you tried FSI panel? No, is this another thing that I need to incorporate into the large smorgasbord of apps that I use to... I'm happy to try anything. I probably keep forgetting Volanta and vPilot and SimBrief and GSX and all sorts of crazy toys that we use to make this more realistic. But yeah, if it'll make it more realistic, I'm all in. What is FSI panel? What does it do? Australia's great getaway from Dubai summer is winter. Yes, I took my family to Melbourne the last 2 summers in a row, and it's great. It's freezing cold. It's a bit like being in the UK, but my wife loves it. Kids love it. Great place. Yeah, Bravo and Alpha in New York. Silly. Have you seen the clip of 6'9" Romeo getting yelled at because they couldn't hear ATC the first time? God forbid a person focuses on slowing down an A3. Yes, I have. I've also seen all the clips of the Chinese pilots trying to get into New York. But the one guy on the flight deck that actually does speak English trying to understand Kennedy Steve. Good luck. Have you seen Bangalore? Yes, I've seen Bangalore. But only ever in the dark. I've never actually been to Bangalore during the day. It might be my alternate for the flight that I'm doing. What day is it today? Actually, don't know what day it is. Today is Tuesday. Flying tomorrow, Thursday. Bangalore might be my alternate. I'm going to Colombo. Favorite airport terminal interior? The Jewel in Singapore. Absolutely ridiculously beautiful. Like, that shouldn't be an airport. That's like a national monument. That and again Istanbul. Istanbul's great. It's huge, far too big, but it's really cool. Like, I could spend a day just wandering around Istanbul. It'd be quite good for a pub crawl. Obviously not if you're gonna fly. No. After I landed in Dulles, I had to wait 20 minutes to get on the mobile lounge, not even lounge, because I wanted to see the flight deck and kind of got denied. Oh no! Was this at an unmentionable airline? Because officially not allowed in the flight deck. I disagree with it. That's probably all I should say on YouTube. I understand their reasoning, but at BA, when I was there, they used to give us postcards and stickers to give to kids who are, last I checked, not a threat to aviation security. And it was free advertising. They used to wander around with company logo on. Brilliant. Great marketing. Obviously, we're not stupid. We would do our jobs first. Make sure that we put magazines and things away. Anything incriminating, and of course, if we don't have time and it's going to affect the commercial aspect, we wouldn't do it. But yeah. I don't know why you got denied. Company procedure. It's literally your job at risk, which is a shame. Add-ons that lets you train like real sims. Ooh, okay. Can you start airborne and just practice the star, or do you have to take off? Because I think when I think the inbuilt 350, if I start it airborne, while it's waiting for the engines to start, like, it won't start with the engines running. It's probably something I'm doing wrong again. But the rat drops out, and then the rat doesn't go away again. So I can't start airborne and then make a video because you've got the silly turbine hanging out the bottom. Is there any way you can start airborne and not have that happen? Because that would be lovely. Because otherwise, like, if I'm trying to make a video that starts halfway across the North Pole, I don't want to have to fly there to have one take at a video. But it's almost certainly something I'm doing wrong. FSI panels payware add-on where you can quickly do approaches without needing to set up the aircraft. No way. That'd be cool. No, if I'm trying to do RMPAR, I literally, when I did the RMPAR, I haven't published it because I haven't finished it, but I was flying RMPAR to Kathmandu, and I took off from Delhi so that I could fly the RMPAR approach to Kathmandu. Massive waste of time. 8 Echo Romeo that landed in Kennedy with 3 engines. What was that about? I don't know. Was that recently? I know the 380s are getting old. Was it meant to go to Kennedy? Not Don't talk about the immigration at Dulles. There were 5 people at immigration for 4 airlines landing at the same time. EVA, Emirates, Ethiopia, and Qatar. So yes. We used to fly to LA. We'd turn up on a 380 at the same time as other Middle Eastern airlines and Korean and BA and Air France and Lufthansa, who all turned up with A380s at the same time. Literally at the same time. Like mid-afternoon, early afternoon, Kennedy. LA. And then it would be a 16 hour flight. And then sometimes 3 hours to get through immigration. It was painful. And then of course, having landed at lunchtime, spent 3 hours to get through immigration. That means it's now rush hour to get on the 4:05 to your hotel. That became like a 24-hour duty just to get to a hotel. It was really unpleasant. Singapore is truly on a different level. Yes, I agree. Great place. Airborne, slews you, configures. Okay, I'm going to have to play with FSI. In fact, I'm going to write that down. Sorry. Oops. Sorry, I just dropped my phone on the keyboard and now I don't know where I'm going. Ah! Highly unprofessional. Oh man. Right, FSI panel. Thank you for the recommendations. It was the unmentionable airline this winter. Got the crew some chocolates, lovely flight attendants. Yes, it's not the flight attendants that decide, sadly, it is the pilots, and apparently, obviously, and it's company policy to not let people on. So there are some who may let you come and have a look, but you'll definitely never be allowed to take a photograph, because if it happens to end up somewhere public, then they can identify who it was, and you have been found to be breaking company policy. So most people just, unfortunately, it's not that they don't want you to come in, it's just that it has been decided by higher powers that it's not allowed, unfortunately. FSI panel is incredible. It's what I'd imagine someone sitting at the back of a real simulator would have to set you up. Yes. Do you know what? One of the cool things I like about this, I made a video a while back trying to show you how to do an engine failure after takeoff. And this guy has... Oh, I need to zoom so I don't trigger this thing. As... where's the engine? Anyway. This guy can pre-arm an engine failure after takeoff, I think. Yeah, armed at the top there. Yeah. Whereas when I did mine, I did it on the 350. And the way I had to do it was kind of put myself in a position like this with the mouse hovering over the fail engine button. So I was flying with my left hand and then I had to get my mouse to try and click with the other hand to fail the engine at V1. It just really wasn't very good. So to be able to arm an engine failure on takeoff would be really, really useful. So yeah, that's how we would do it in a real simulator, right? We just arm it, set it so that we can focus on what the guys are doing at the front. And I think this technology should absolutely replace our real simulators that we use to train pilots, because it is, I mean, the visuals are a million times better than our simulators. But where our simulators are, the reason they're so expensive is because we can just, okay, reposition 3 miles, reposition 3 miles, reposition 3 miles, go and do a landing, go and do a landing, go and do a landing. And it's all about the efficiency. But I think if there are tools to be able to do that with these visuals and these systems, this is way more realistic than the sims I use to train people. It looks exactly what the sim instructor has on screen. Well, I'll play with it. Surely as crew you don't have to navigate the same immigration as chat. No, we don't. However, like I said, we arrive at the same time as BA, Lufthansa, Korea and Air France, all on 380s, and the other Middle East carriers. All of us there at the same time. And all of their crews are 26 to 30 people. So it's a lot of people, and generally, because they're trying to keep the passenger lines down, because that's what gets reported, there's one person doing the crew. And it was just a long line of airline crews stuck in one channel. I understand. Understand on the cruise parts. Nothing against them. Always wonderful crew on the unmentionable airline. I get more chocolates on my flight back. That's very kind of you. They definitely do appreciate it. They really do. They work really hard. I genuinely couldn't do their job. I really couldn't. Some of the stuff they have to put up with. So if there's anything that you can do to make their day easier, it definitely goes a long way. I hope you're not flying to Delhi anytime soon. Visibility is awful. Departure and arrival are getting delayed. Yeah, I have noticed it seems to be common over almost all of India at the moment, but particularly bad in the north. Yes. Yeah. Am I right in thinking they're Cat 1 as well? Or do they have Cat 2 and 3 as well? FSI panel can do it. It's made by a pilot. Oh, cool. Ultimate Airport Dubai was my favourite show growing up. Sad it doesn't air anymore. Yeah. Maybe they should do a new one for the new airport. And maybe they should hurry up and build a new airport, actually, I suppose. Alright, should we try and expedite this approach? Let's clear ourselves down to 4,000 feet. What did we say the QNH was? I can't remember already. I'm going to find it with my new efficient knowledge of how to use this aeroplane. Look at that. 1021. Cool. Oh god. Can't pre-select QNH on this thing. Okay. I know, don't beep at me. Yes, good. Okay. So, we're 12 miles away from the airport. And there's 10 miles cross track, so that'd be 3,000 feet I can lose there. So if I want to get to Pesach at 4, I need to be 7,000 before I turn. That's kind of how I'm thinking at the moment. So, how do we quickly get down to 4,000 feet? Start by going open descent. There we go. We'll select 250 knots, because then what we can do is activate the approach phase. And we select it so that it doesn't automatically go back. Okay, so I need to get to 7,000 feet before I start my turn, or I can intervene and use some speed brakes and stuff. But it's more comfortable for everybody else if I wait maybe about 8,000 feet. No wind to factor in. Imagine me as cabin crew. Yeah, it wouldn't be pretty. Do you think someone in a type rating course can use these sims effectively for memorization? Yes. Would an instructor be able to tell they've practiced more externally? Yes. I've had guys who literally see my videos here at an airline that we don't talk about. I'm going to need to use speed brake because I've turned in really early. And one of the reasons, like I said, I used I made the FMS video is because this radial in means it's just going to build me a straight line, by the way. It's because I don't want to go direct, I want it to stay in heading. I'm going to call that. Alright, that's heading. Okay. 110 would be a beam, and I am high. Cool. How high am I? Forget the 320 has a progress page. 3,000 feet high. It's not that bad. What are we? 10 miles, 8,000 feet, descending with speed brakes. We'll be fine. In fact, we can look here. 18 miles straight in, assuming zero elevation. I know it's a couple of hundred feet up. But 18 miles would be 5,400 feet. We'll be alright. I might even stow my speed brakes. Again, 17 miles now, 5,100 feet means I'm 2,200 feet above. But I've still got my 6 miles, 8 miles. That'll be fine. I know I need to slow down as well, but it'll be fine. Okay. What have we forgotten? I actually haven't worked out how I'm going to slow down or stop, or what I'm going to do after landing. That's not good. You guys were distracted. Taxi routes from 02. Oh, I'm going to vacate to the right and turn. Look at that, there's my glide slope. So when do we turn? 235 knots ground speed, generally 2.3 miles. Call it 2.5. In fact, I'm going to start the speed brakes that I need. And we're below our little magenta equals sign, so I can select flaps. There we go. I could probably go 200 knots now. Maybe a little bit of an intercept from above, and then you can cheat. If you want to slow down but you don't want to lose your vertical profile, what you can do is you just pull VS, right? And if you think you're on the correct vertical profile, half of this, so 1100 feet a minute, would be a correct 3-degree profile. So there we go, right? Now we're 2.9, 2.8, so if we said 2.5, we go to about a 30-degree intercept. The 0.2 would be 0.50, wouldn't it? And then I'm going to arm the approach. And then I can reduce my speed because I don't want power to come up. There we go, GS unlock start. Yay. 14 miles, 200 knots is fine from an energy point of view. Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2. And we're established on the ILS. Where are we? About the new airport, Emirates is getting 270 777X. Good luck on finding park. Yes. It needed a new airport. It really does need a new airport. Now that I've got glide slope armed, should be star really, for 15 seconds I think, I can set flight level 6 here. Obviously you can't pre-select a flight level. There we go. We're established on the ILS. I'm going to go back to 180 knots. Selected. It probably won't get there because we're idle thrust already. But at 12 miles we're fine. If we get to 10 miles and we're still 200 knots, I'll put the gear down to help it slow down. Lock. And we've got India Lima, India identified. 11 miles, 4,100 feet, and it's cold outside. What's the elevation? Be on the chart somewhere. Is it on this one? No, it's not. Where's my ILS? Oh. Runway elevation 12 hectopascals, which is 300 feet. Not entirely sure. There you go, 330 feet. I guess. Okay. Are we slowing down? Inside 10 miles? No. Let's put the gear down. And we can use the speed brake with the flap to help it slow down. Also going to select 160. It's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment until we're able to extend more flaps. Now that we've done that, we realise that we forgot to put the landing lights on. There we go, we can get the flaps out now.
2,500.
And then we be careful with our V Alpha Prot. He sneaks up with the speed brake as we split the wing in half with flaps and speed brake at the same time. There you go, 180 knots, descending 160, that's fine. We'll stow the speed brakes, armour spoilers. Cool. So what are we going to see for an auto land? At some point this should say land. Because the aeroplane. And we've got tailwind as well, no that's not going to help. Bit of, I'm assuming it's cloud, but we're plus 12 so we don't need the engine anti-ice yet. Let's go flaps 3. Somebody earlier asked, what flight stick do you use? Sure, if the channel continues to grow, you're going to end up falling down the rabbit hole of height. Yes. Yes. So, let me just select flaps 4. We're approaching 4 miles, so we'll manage that speed. I've got the Thrustmaster Airbus thing. My quadrant, that's what it's called, is sitting on a couple of IKEA tables at the moment. One of the tables was, until yesterday, it had my Thrustmaster side stick on it, and I was flying around the circuit yesterday. And every time I put an input in, it would sort of lift up and tilt. So I got one of these metal mount things. Sorry, I'm just shaking the camera. Yeah, so I've got a metal mount. So I can fly, but I'm obviously not going to because I can't see where I'm going. But yeah, I can see myself falling down it. I've already got stream decks and I'm using a separate computer to stream, and I buying toys So anytime you guys pop up with equipment or app suggestions, you're going to get me in trouble. You are. It says land at around 425. Yes, it's meant to be by 350. Alfie's back. Just done 2 base training circuits. Get used to my new setup. How's the flight going? Well, you're about to see, as we're landing into a murky Lisbon.
500.
500, it says. There you go. V1 uses $250 stick and 600. Oh my word! Don't tell my wife. Oh, Lisbon! I can see it. That's exciting. Got the Wing McDo. It's amazing. Get there, McDo. No, don't stop it, Alfie. You're gonna get me in trouble. All right. I'll tell you what. Well, let's not auto land. Ah! And immediately it's dropped me high. What's the wind? I'm not prepared for this. Brace, people. Hey, is this an uphill runway?
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
Yeah, I have no idea where I'm going now. Landed. I miss BTV. Is that an exit? Yeah. I assume you can't taxi over the green bit. Disarm the brakes until I can find out somewhere to go, otherwise I'm going to be in everyone's way. That's an exit for the other end. Alright, we'll take the next right. 40 knots is a reasonable speed. Butter. No, it wasn't. That was poo. Yeah, Lisbon. God, Lisbon's a great city. I did layovers here when I was at Nigel Airways. Used to stay in a wonderful hotel just around the corner from the zoo. Just good meat and hello, still with me? Yeah, great place. Good surfing. Not that I'm remotely athletic, but people who are tell me there's good surfing in Lisbon. Right, you notice I haven't done anything until we leave the runway, because the most important thing is not getting lost and leaving the runway. So then when you have, you can, my airline that's has the pilot flying do this. Don't know why, but we do that, and then as a signal to your pilot monitoring that you know where you're going and you're happy for him to divert his attention from watching you, disarm the spoilers, and then you bring the flaps up. Where are we going to go? I think we're going to go left, aren't we? It's like you never left EasyJet. What, because I piled it in? No, that's Ryanair. Centerlines in Spain. Yes. Yeah, all right. I'm not, in fairness, I'm not sitting in front of my monitor. I've got all the excuses going. When you have the time, what would be your biggest advice for any aspiring pilot? Go for it. It's cool, man. It's a good, like, it's a really fun way to earn a living. Yes, it's risky. Every career has risk and an outlay, but when you do get there, and when you do get there, please don't forget how lucky you are to do this for a job, because yeah, you might have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or literally my last flight, I was picked up from my house. I know that sounds awful, how terrible that I was picked up from my house to go to work, but I was picked up from my house at 10:05 in the evening to go and spend a full night out of bed. And I still turn up with a smile on my face because I wasn't sitting in an office. I was lucky to be doing what I was doing, even though it was in the middle of the night. And it is tiring, but it is the coolest job that you could ever do. I think we parked somewhere along here, so I obviously don't have the Lisbon scenery, and there's taxi lights in the middle of the taxiway. Oh, this is where my GPU starts whinging at me again, isn't it? This is a bit weird. Why is there a taxi light, or have I gone the wrong way? I'm sure we used to park down here somewhere. So it's been about 20 years. Oh, yeah, here comes the stutters. One of these looks like a stand. I should probably slow down then. and start the APU. I forget you can't just press these buttons at the same time on the 320. Yeah, I'm going to park on this stand. Let's turn the light off so we don't blind everyone. And actually start. Alright. See, this is like where modelling things like the ANF as it is on the 350 or the OANS as it is on the 380 is nice and really difficult for people at builds and fly-by-wire to do. So yes, this is a study level aeroplane and it is brilliant and it's wonderful what they've managed to achieve, but it is fundamentally easier than it is to model the 380. Plans for after stream. My wife has been standing out there. I don't know if you see me looking, but I didn't tell her that I would be up here for so long, and it's 8 o'clock. So as soon as I've parked, I am going to have to run downstairs and apologise to my wife. But I will make plans and fix the stream. Download all of these extra toys you kept talking about, and I've got, I think, 5 days in work now. But when I come back, I've got 2 weeks leave, and the kids are in school, so I will be streaming for those 2 weeks probably. So if there's anything you want to see, I'm going to stop the aeroplane there. Let me know. 238 feet per minute. Oh, it's poo. Thank you, Alfie, for keeping me honest. Right, we put the bleed on, and the reason we put the bleed on is in case we have a tailpipe fire or shutdown. So then you've got some pressure to crank the engine if you need to. So one of the coolest tips that I saw from an EasyJet pilot that I still use to this day, he used to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then shut down. I have no idea why. Because he used to go 1, which was the park brake, 2, 3, and then I've not forgotten the APU, 1, 2, 3. So as soon as I see those 3 things twice, I think it's safe to shut down the engines. Because if you've forgotten, I've done it once. If you've shut down and you haven't started the APU, it gets very embarrassing, and then somebody really amusing from Liverpool shouts, "Has anyone got 50p for meter?" Anyway, once your engines have spooled down and it's safe, you can signal to the ground crew that it's safe by doing that, and then you can tell the passengers that they can get up and fight for their bags. You just turn off the fuel pumps and the transponder. There's me. That used to go. That could go off. That could go off. Cool. We've parked an A320. Then we do the parking checklist. Now, I don't have a 320 checklist. I should probably get one, but it was a piece of paper that used to live up here when I was there, and I can't remember what it is now. But it's probably an iPad or an electronic checklist. Alfie's doing a 32-hour stream tomorrow. Guys, thank you very much for stopping by. Aviation Planes is my nephew Alfie. He's a much better pilot than I am. So if you are still around hanging, longing for more Flight Sim 320 content, please go and stop by there. I'm going to go and rescue my marriage, and I will be back on sometime soon with hopefully a bit more organisation and a bit more reliable stuff, and we'll get the VAT Sim bit on, and we'll maybe go transatlantic or something. But thank you very much for keeping me amused during the cruise. Really appreciate it. Nice to see you. Take care, guys. Bye.